Chapter 2136. Continuously affectionate too. What do you mean? Purgatory City borders Wuxia. If he hadn't taken up his last mission, he wouldn't have known the inside story. So it turned out that Wuxia bordered Purgatory City. Did you leave right after you saved me the last time? Su Luo's eyes sparkled. The mission was urgent. Nangong Liuyan's voice was sweet and soothing. On his incomparably fine and handsome face a hint of darkness flashed across his eyes that were more beautiful than amber. Naturally, he kept from Su Luo the fact that he had been discovered by his comrades because he saved Su Luo. After making a narrow escape he killed all his comrades to ensure their silence, ultimately causing his leg disease to flare up. Nangong Liuyan chuckled lightly. His voice was gentle and elegant but with the traces of a ruffian's wickedness. He held his smooth chin haughtily and said, "Old Ning still has some use. You don't need to be too good to that old man. He is helping you because he owes me a favor." Old Ning. Su Luo seemed to be taken aback for a moment. Old Ning works for Nangong Liuyan? Wasn't it Luoyichen? Luoyichen? He knows you? Nangong's figure became tense. His voice was cold and solemn. He had become serious in an instant. Only then did Su Luo realize that she had actually spoken out loud what was in her heart. She was really too foolish. Su Luo hit her head dejectedly. Wasn't this just looking for trouble? She had yet to figure out how to answer when Nangong Liuyan stomped his feet like a child and started firing off question after question like a barrage of gunfire. How did you meet? What did he do for you? What's his relationship with you? What made you think old Ning works under him? He relentlessly asked a whole lot of questions, with his spittle flying out. Su Luo had never known that Nangong Liuyan could actually talk this much. She took a deep breath and explained seriously. He has helped me several times, but similar to old man Ning, Luoyichen was just entrusted by others to help me. Entrusted by others? Nangong Liuyan frowned slightly. Entrusted by whom? I'm not very clear about this, so I'm waiting for you to come back to help me clear up the confusion. Su Luo's mouth turned up in a slight smile that was like a light and traceless breeze. There was some sort of provocation in her smile. Okay. Wait for me. You're not allowed to seduce 2 and play around with other guys 3. Do you understand? When I go back, I will immediately deal with you, you hateful little girl. Nangong Liuyan threatened violently. Su Luo had a slight smile on her face. Then first you have to beat Luoyichen. I heard that he is very powerful. How is your dark element cultivation? Is it strong enough? Nangong Liuyan snorted coldly. I don't know if it is strong, but it is more than enough to deal with him. Hearing that, Su Luo stuck out her tongue and silently paid tribute to senior brother Luo. She really didn't do it on purpose. At this time, big sister Wei stabbed Su Luo with her finger. The time is up, hang up. It was because big sister Wei watched so many people walk into the Tower of Trials one after another. Being so fond of fighting people, she would be heartbroken if she couldn't enter and fight. And so Su Luo concluded to Nangong Liuyan. I have to go in for the exam. We'll talk some more once I'm out. The light in Nangong Liuyan's eyes dimmed, and his voice was low, with a suggestive smile. Are you confident about winning? No, Su Luo spoke honestly. Seeing Su Luo being so honest, Nangong Liuyan was immediately amused. His foolish little Luo was still so straightforward and amusing. She really didn't know how to put on a poker face. Chapter 2137. Continuously Affectionate 3. It's merely coming up with a solution. Won't one emerge after just thinking for a while? This is the benefit of having a high IQ. Nangong Liuyan pretended to sigh deeply, and his expression was indescribably handsome, confident, and outstanding. He muttered the answer before Su Luo could even ask what it was. The more Su Luo listened, the brighter her eyes became. By the end, she really wished she could hug Nangong Liuyan and kiss him fiercely. This idea, I can give it a try. Su Luo was excited at heart, but her face showed a pretense of finding the idea difficult while her voice carried a faint note of reluctance. This angered Nangong Liuyan greatly. If Su Luo were in front of him, he would definitely catch her and spank her. Before he could speak, Su Luo had already said goodbye and quickly hung up the communication amulet. Then she put it straight into her space without fooling around. On the other side, Nangong Luoyan didn't know whether to laugh or cry at the sight of Su Luo's grayed-out name. Seeing that the time was almost up, Su Luo hurriedly turned on the optical tablet she was carrying. She quickly selected and purchased the several items Nangong Luoyan had said to get. Fortunately, she had the 600,000 points she'd robbed from the Guardian. Otherwise, a pauper like her wouldn't be able to afford them. She looked at the things she had bought, all of which were ridiculously expensive. If it wasn't for Nangong Luoyan telling her to buy those items, she really wouldn't have bought them. They were way too expensive. After she bought the items, she looked at the remaining points in her diamond tablet. Su Luo looked up into the sky and burst into tears. Was she really destined to live the life of a pauper? She had just pulled herself out of that destitute life by robbing others. Yet in the blink of an eye, she had become a pauper again, with not even a single penny left. I've spent it all. I've spent it all again. Su Luo pulled at her hair depressedly. Right at this moment, a grandiose group of people passed by Su Luo. All of them were full of energy too and impressive strength. The leader of the group was someone Su Luo was very familiar with. It was Leng Xiao. Apart from him, who else would glare at her coldly with such murderous eyes? Leng Xiao truly had many subordinates. Just from a visual estimation, there were at least 20 or 30 people. It was an extremely large force. When Leng Xiao passed by Su Luo, a cold sneer appeared at the corners of his mouth. Loathsome wench, are you ready to die? Without waiting for Su Luo to speak, Leng Xiao walked away blusterously with his head held high and chest raised. Each of the 20 or 30 people behind him repeated that one sentence when they passed by Su Luo. Loathsome wench, are you ready to die? Big Sister Wei got so angry that she glared at them with wide eyes. However, Su Luo continued to stand there calmly with a superficial and faint smile on her face like a cool breeze had just blown past without leaving a single trace behind. She waited for the group of people to enter before taking Big Sister Wei to get their identification nameplates. The guardian this time was a middle-aged woman. She had a rigid, cold, and unkind appearance, similar to that of Abbess Miju who guarded Distal End Mountain. Su Luo called this guardian Abbess Miju No. 2. Abbess Miju No. 2 stared fixedly at Su Luo with a gaze that was chilling to the bone like how a nail pierces deeply. Her gaze carried an obvious hostility. Su Luo smiled faintly. It seems that the people in Midstream Mountain were all very unfriendly to her. Nevertheless, why did it even matter? Su Luo didn't plan to live in Midstream Mountain for a long time. She just came here to participate in the assessment. After passing this level, she would naturally proceed to Upstream Mountain. Big Sister Wei very rudely snatched the identification nameplates from the middle-aged woman and handed one to Su Luo, while tucking the other into her clothes. Abbess Miju No. 2 stared at Su Luo with a sinister gaze as a trace of anger flashed across her eyes. Chapter 2138. Continuously Affectionate. Su Luo paid the guardian no mind and strutted away with Big Sister Wei. After all, the middle-aged woman was merely a guardian. The guardian in Downstream Mountain had been killed by Su Luo. Just what was so extraordinary about being a guardian? Su Luo stood in front of the Tower of Trials, waiting to enter. At this time, she was carefully observing the crowd of people around her. Here they were roughly divided into a dozen or more small groups. Of course, the largest group was the one led by Leng Xiao. The second largest. Su Luo's gaze flickered. That was the group with an iron tower-like man. He was more than 3 meters tall, and covered in bulging muscles from head to toe. Additionally, his torso was bare, showing his bronze skin. With all his protruding well-defined muscles, he seemed extraordinarily powerful. Su Luo carefully observed that this person was of the power-based combat type, the same type as the Big Sister Wei. Moreover, his strength was very likely higher than Big Sister Wei's. While touching her chin, Su Luo frowned slightly. The people here were stronger than she had expected. If she hadn't gotten Nangong Luoyan's advice, she reckoned it would be unlikely for her to enter the top 10 this time. Fortunately, with his expert advice, Su Luo was full of confidence for this Tower of Trials. Right at this moment, the iron tower-like man's gaze swept over Su Luo. When he saw Su Luo's thin arms and legs, he He snorted coldly through his nostrils. Little mosquito. This was his evaluation of Su Luo. Big Sister Wei shook the big wooden club in her hand and shouted angrily. You fat-headed pig-brain blockhead. Do you dare to fight me? With a bang, she slammed her big wooden club heavily onto the ground. The Iron Tower man cast a disdainful look at Big Sister Wei, raised his chin arrogantly, and turned his head away. He was expressing that it was really beneath his dignity to bother with her. Big Sister Wei suddenly burned with rage like a beast whose tail had been stepped on. She got so angry that she roared in anger, wishing to rush up and just swing her wooden club haphazardly. Fortunately, Su Luo stopped her. Stop messing around. You can fight however you want once we're inside. Fighting is restricted here. Su Luo's voice was neither cold nor hot and neither soft nor loud, yet it stood out enough for the Iron Tower man and Lung Xiao to overhear. Before the large Iron Tower-like man even showed much of a reaction, Lung Xiao sneered. Once you're inside? Wench, you will be sent out as soon as you enter. Yet you're still thinking of fighting however you want once you're inside? Such big talk. Lung Xiao glanced at Su Luo arrogantly while badmouthing her inwardly. Soon after, the door of the Tower of Trials opened. Su Luo and Big Sister Wei squeezed through the crowd to get inside. As soon as she entered, Su Luo discovered that they were surrounded by the color of gold. This time, the map turned out to be a desert, a vast expanse of desert. The desert had very high temperatures and felt sizzling hot all around. They had only just entered, but many people had already started fighting. This was because those who struck first would gain the upper hand while those who struck later would suffer a devastating blow too. No one wanted to become someone else's cannon fodder. Big Sister Wei was still looking forward to having a real battle with Iron Tower Man, but Su Luo unexpectedly grabbed her hand and shot explosively towards a secluded place at flying speed. The ever-obedient Big Sister Wei could only helplessly follow Su Luo to escape. However, she was unhappy about it at heart and muttered, We aren't going to fight? Why are we running? Big Sister Wei looked back as she ran. The place where 100 people stood originally was now the main battlefield. It was a cruel melee. A very spirited battle. Big Sister Wei was gearing up, eagerly wanting to help fight. Of course, there were also those who, like Su Luo, were frantically running swiftly in all directions. Their speed was as fast as a ray of light flashing by. Nevertheless, Su Luo firmly grabbed hold of Big Sister Wei and lowered her voice. With an unprecedented seriousness in her tone, Su Luo said, Run quickly. If we're surrounded by Lung Xiao's group of more than 20 people, it will be useless no matter how powerful we are. Chapter 2141. Midstream Mountain 1. This person, who was tall and thin, looked weak and feeble. In comparison, Big Sister Wei appeared particularly burly. The person turned his head to look at Big Sister Wei. Darn, she was so mighty. It was better for him to run quickly. So he turned back around and blasted forward like he was flying. He was running desperately for his life, so of course his speed was extremely fast. However, suddenly, a cold blade appeared in front of him and forcibly brought him to an abrupt stop. At this moment, the tip of the sword was only an inch away from his heart. Say your name. Su Luo did not withdraw her sword as she stared at him nonchalantly. The other party weighed the pros and cons and then clenched his hand at his side. Biting his lower lip, he answered bitterly, Chu Lin. Then Chu Lin, you can now hand over the identity plates. The corners of Su Luo's lips curled into a grin. Chu Lin glared at Su Luo fiercely while racking his brain to think quickly. For a moment he didn't move at all. Seeing Chu Lin's eyes light up slightly, the smile on Su Luo's lips became increasingly brilliant, and she continued to gaze fixedly at Chu Lin. Meanwhile, Chu Lin felt that the devastatingly beautiful one young lady's lucid eyes were extremely bright. They were so bright that it felt as if the deepest secrets in his heart were being drawn out bit by bit. The corners of Su Luo's lips curved up slightly. With a hint of playfulness in her voice, she said, It seems that your luck is not bad. I'm guessing you've seized quite a number of identity plates? Chu Lin's face flushed red. By running over here, were you wanting to hide and wait until the 3 days are over before you walk out in a strut? Su Luo raised her eyebrows with a smile. Chu Lin's complexion became even redder with the kind of anger that would arise from the humiliation too of having your thoughts exposed. 3. Take out all of the identity plates, and you can suffer a bit less. Su Luo's voice was light and soft, giving off a feeling that was like light wind and floating clouds. Still, how could Chu Lin be willing to do so? He was so lucky before. Mixed in with the crowd, he managed to take advantage of the situation, and actually picked up an identity plate twice by luck. Yet he now had to give them all to the young lady before him? Wouldn't that mean that all the effort he put in earlier was all for someone else to enjoy for? He was not content with this. Seeing Chu Lin's eyes flicker indecisively, spinning around and around, Su Luo couldn't help but smile coldly. Then she motioned to Big Sister Wei that it was her turn. Big Sister was the type of person that used force. She was totally unlike Su Luo, who was the type of person to use her intelligence, akin to how a gentleman uses his mouth and not his fist. So Big Sister Wei rushed forward and lifted up Chu Lin in one swoop with her sturdy arm while shouting fiercely, "Do you want an easy death or one that's painful and violent?" Of course, the so-called death Big Sister Wei meant was certainly not a real death. In this tower of trials, there was a withdraw option. As long as an examinee selected it, they would turn into a beam of white light and be sent out of the tower. Chu Lin did not respond, so Big Sister Wei smashed his head with an explosive burst of strength. With a loud and clear bang, Chu Lin's head was almost smashed into bits. Unable to bear his anger, Chu Lin glared at Big Sister Wei. Chu Lin had known that once he encountered these two people today, he wouldn't be able to escape. He would either be killed, or he could make his own choice to die. Under the tyranny of Big Sister Wei, Chu Lin ultimately chose the withdraw option in despair. Clang, clang, clang. Right after Chu Lin's figure turned into a beam of white light, 3 noises rang out in succession. Then Su Luo saw 3 jade tablets fall to the ground. They were 3 identity plates. Big Sister Wei hurriedly picked them up and excitedly delivered them into Su Luo's hands. Su Luo stroked the jade pendants with an intense smile in her eyes. It seemed that her hunting plan was very good. After only half a day, she had already collected 3 identification plates. Moreover, until now, she still had not used even a single one of those venom traps she planted. Chapter 2142, Midstream Mountain 2. After putting away the identity plates, Su Luo personally took action to erase the battle traces from this location. It was because there was not a single fool amongst the people who managed to enter this tower of trials. Once they saw an indication of what happened, they would not be so easy to trick. Su Luo gave Big Sister Wei 3 chicken legs and coaxed her to sit and eat obediently. Then Su Luo went back under the shade and continued with her cultivation. On the first day, Su Luo and Big Sister Wei's luck was neither good nor bad. Aside from the 3 identity plates from Chu Lin, they didn't obtain any more. Nevertheless, Su Luo didn't really care about that, as she had a new understanding of her integration with the strength arm bone following a night of fusing. After cultivating continuously till noon, Su Luo opened her eyes slightly, and there was a flash of interest in her eyes. At this time, it had gotten too hot for Big Sister Wei to bear, so she buried her entire body under the sand, with only her nose exposed. Seeing this, Su Luo smiled slightly. It looked like she didn't move at all, aside from doing a sweeping motion with her sleeve. Yet the thick layer of sand covering Big Sister Wei was entirely brushed away, revealing where she had buried herself in the sandpit. Before Big Sister Wei even opened her eyes, her body had already jumped up unconsciously and quickly assumed a fighting pose. This made Su Luo split her sides, laughing so much that her stomach felt like it was about to cramp up. When Big Sister Wei heard Su Luo's voice, she became completely awake and shook her head, cleanly flinging off the yellow sand that was all over it. "Wake up quickly. We have customers," Su Luo said with a grin. She was in a pretty good mood because she had integrated another third of the strength arm bone into her arm. When Big Sister Wei heard that some customers had arrived, she was even more excited than Su Luo and asked hurriedly, Where? Where?" Su Luo pointed in a certain direction. Big Sister Wei looked over, and as expected, she saw a blurry black spot. No, that should be 3 black spots. Unexpectedly, 3 people had arrived this time. Big Sister Wei's fighting spirit suddenly ignited. However, Su Luo didn't intend to have a hard fight. If they could use a simple way to win, who would do it at the risk of losing their life? So Su Luo told Big Sister Wei. 3 people came this time. They must be working together. Otherwise, they wouldn't be on the same road. It did not matter whether Big Sister Wei understood. Regardless of what Su Luo said, Big Sister Wei just gave a strong nod while staring fixedly at the black spots up ahead. Quite clearly, she hadn't taken in a single word Su Luo said. Su Luo glanced at Big Sister Wei bemusedly, suddenly feeling that explaining matters clearly to Big Sister Wei was a very unnecessary thing to do. When it came to Big Sister Wei, all Su Luo needed to do was give her instructions. So Su Luo pointed at the location of the big old tree up ahead and said to Big Sister Wei, "You still remember the location of the trap we buried, right?" Yes, she remembered this. Big Sister Wei nodded repeatedly. Very good. Later, if they don't step on the trap, use your strength to force them to step on it. Do you understand? For Big Sister Wei, when it came to resolving matters by force, she was only too happy to do them. Thus Su Luo and Big Sister Wei lay in wait with one up ahead and the other at the rear, preparing for an ambush. This was because they were afraid one of the customers would escape and inform others. Right now, the time was not yet right, so the spreading of this information would disrupt Su Luo's entire plan. After a while, those 3 black spots got closer and closer. By now, Su Luo could clearly see how strong they were. There was 1 8-star commander rank, 1 9-star commander rank, and 1 3-star saint rank. The 8-star commander and the 9-star commander rank were obviously followers of the 3-star saint rank. This could be seen just from how they were positioned in relation to each other. At this time, they walked over in a triangular formation like the Chinese character A. The 3-star saint rank walked in the front, while the 8-star and 9-star commander ranks walked in the back very respectfully. Chapter 2143, Midstream Mountain 3. At this moment, they shared one thing in common: both of their foreheads were sweating. The desert temperature was hotter than the high heavens. At this time it was exactly noon, the hottest time of the day. Traveling hurriedly on the road, it was a given that it would be unbearably hot. They saw a sunny hillside with an old tree at the bottom of the slope. Although a little withered, its huge tree trunk could still provide shade from the sun. The 8-star commander rank examinee flatteringly asked his boss, "Brother Chen, we have gone far enough. Lung Zhao's people on the other side will definitely be unable to catch up. Shall we take a break here?" In reality, the 8-star commander rank examinee himself was the one who really wanted to rest. He was the weakest and couldn't withstand the high temperatures. Having fought and killed all throughout the road there, he was completely dead tired. Seeing this, the 3-star saint rank examinee's expression remained indifferent. However, the 9-star commander rank examinee looked at their tired little companion and advised, "Boss, noon is the hottest period in the desert. We will be much more efficient after noon." This was true. The 3-star saint rank examinee, Brother Chen, turned around and saw nobody passing by, and ahead was only vast yellow sand. He nodded coldly. 9-star commander rank examinee flatteringly said, "It is so remote here, 1 or 2 people may possibly pass through. We might as well stay here. There could even be a few benefits." In the dark, Su Luo's eyebrows furrowed. 9-star commander rank examinee's thoughts unexpectedly ran along the same line as hers. They were truly confidants. Unfortunately, he didn't know that they were being hunted by others at the moment. The 8-star commander rank examinee spread out a clean sheet of fabric under the old tree, then respectfully welcomed the 3-star saint rank examinee to sit down. On one side, fanning the 3-star saint rank examinee, on the other, exhaling. The 3-star saint rank examinee cast an icy glance towards the 8-star commander rank examinee, his finger pointing northeast. "There is a water source 1 mile away from here." A water source? Upon hearing this, the 8-star commander rank examinee was immediately filled with excitement. Heaven knew his throat was currently burning with thirst. Before entering this place, no one had known that it would be a desert map, so he had not prepared water. The 8-star commander rank examinee quickly flew away. At this moment, Su Luo's eyes half squinted, the corners of the mouth slightly raised, like a fox sneaking underfoot. Fetching water? This was too great of a news. In the blink of an eye, the 8-star commander rank examinee had already used a bamboo tube to bring water to the 3-star saint rank examinee, eagerly serving him on the side while talking excitedly. The water in the desert is very pure and sweet. Taking a sip, it's as if all of the heat has disappeared. Brother Chen, try some. Brother Chen stopped his hand when he heard these words, and sniffed the water with his nose. Suddenly he smiled coldly, splashing all the water onto the 8-star commander rank examinee. The 8-star commander rank examinee was immediately shocked, his whole body was startled, and he let drops of water flow down from the top of his head. Brother Chen, what's wrong? The 8-star commander rank examinee was at a loss. What happened? You want to murder me? You, an 8-star commander rank, want to murder me? You think that if I died, you could succeed me? The 3-star saint rank Brother Chen seized the 8-star commander rank examinee by the neck. The poor 8-star commander rank examinee had no idea what had happened, but at that time he was lifted high into the air by the 3-star saint rank Brother Chen, his feet floating off the ground. 9-star commander rank examinee didn't dare to go up and persuade him, only just stood to the side stupidly. Brother Chen. The overpowered 8-star commander rank examinee struggled endlessly, wanting to explain. He was completely innocent and still didn't realize what had happened until now. Chapter 2144, Midstream Mountain 4. You don't dare to plot against me? Ha ha ha, you dared to put poison in my water. Yet you still have the nerve to deny it. Brother Chen sneered. Putting force into his hands, he completely annihilated the poor clueless 3-star commander rank examinee. There was only a flash of white light, and an identity plate fell to the ground with a bang. Brother Chen held up a finger with the identity plate in his hand, and simply smiled coldly. Daring to play tricks in front of me, that is courting death. Just wait until I get out of here. You'll see. For a second, the 9-star commander rank examinee silently mourned for his companion, before continuing to eagerly wait on Brother Chen. Brother Chen had just sat down when suddenly, he felt that something was strange. Then he stared at the 9-star commander rank examinee with cold eyes. The 9-star commander rank examinee stared at the ground flusteredly. He felt that seeing Brother Chen's appearance like this was truly terrifying. He summoned up enough courage and asked weakly, Brother Chen. Smack! A heavy slap flew at the 9-star commander rank examinee's face. 9-star commander rank examinee was instantly sent flying outwards, and he eventually fell to the ground, creating a crater. Big Sister Wei watched this and couldn't be happier. Su Luo looked across at her, and Big Sister Wei subconsciously covered her grinning mouth, holding her laughter in tightly for fear of laughing out loud. Su Luo too hadn't expected that this plan would create such an exciting scene. Consequently, she very much liked this turn of events. At this time, the beaten 9-star commander rank examinee had a heavy heart as he struggled to get up. However, before he could stand up firmly, Brother Chen had already shot over to him. Bam! The 9-star commander rank examinee was kicked by Brother Chen, and immediately turned into a beam of white light, vanishing right where he was. Afterwards, his identity plate appeared in Brother Chen's hands. Brother Chen gazed at the piece of white jade in his hands, and his eyes flashed fiercely. How dare he poison me? Imbecile! Knowing this was not a place to stay for too long, he turned to leave. But at this time, there was someone standing right in front of him. Brother Chen felt unfamiliar with this person, and it was exactly because of this that made it easy to guess her identity. You're from Downstream Mountain? Big Sister Wei wielded a big club and pointed at Brother Chen, laughing wildly. Idiot! You are such a big idiot! Ha ha ha! Brother Chen understood in an instant. After realizing the truth, he was filled with anger. You did the poisoning? It was me, your great-aunt. Big Sister Wei had been waiting for this moment for a long time, so without any further nonsense, she charged forward and began attacking Brother Chen. Big Sister Wei was a 2-star saint rank, while he was a 3-star saint rank. It stood to reason that she ought to be beaten into suppression. Unfortunately for Brother Chen, Big Sister Wei had an immortal body, so she didn't worry about her body's condition. The minute she rushed up, she started bombarding him. One cherished their life, whereas the other threw away their life. And so Brother Chen was unexpectedly suppressed by Big Sister Wei just like that. Only able to defend and unable to attack, he was angered to the point of going crazy. What made him despondent was that just when he was forced to retreat by Big Sister Wei, he turned around to escape, and there came a stinging in his side as he was stabbed by an icy sword. With a flash of the sword, there was a hole in his body. Yet before he could even react, the person bearing the sword had already disappeared from his sight. As he tried to deal with Big Sister Wei's killing move, another sword came piercing out of nowhere, creating yet another bloody wound on his body. Chapter 2145, Midstream Mountain 5. This person's offensive power was obviously not high, and her strength was definitely lesser than his own. So, because it was difficult for her to break his defenses, she would strike the same place every time, on the same wound. Even the strongest body wouldn't be able to withstand this sort of stabbing. One stab, two stabs, and yet another stab. The wound on his back was gradually torn up and enlarged, with blood gushing out onto the golden sand. The spray of blood sent the sand flying wildly, but that was it. Brother Chen was so furious that he was about to fly into a rage. The woman hiding behind him was like an annoying fly. He couldn't get her to leave, and she wouldn't come out and fight him head-on. Instead, she wielded that broken sword and took advantage of when he was unguarded to stab him once, and then stab him again. He really wanted to smack this hateful little fly to death. However, unfortunately, whenever he was distracted by the fly at his back, the aggressive Big Sister Wei would come smashing at him with her wooden club from the front. If it wasn't because he managed to dodge quickly, having his head smashed bloody would actually be considered light damage. It was extremely possible that he might even have been smashed right out of the Tower of Trials itself. Now what should he do? Make a side hairdo. When it was then that Brother Chen started to feel regretful. Had he known it would be like this, he would have kept those two followers alive. With the two of them hindering that hateful fly, he'd be able to concentrate fully on his opponent. Nevertheless, now, this wouldn't do. If the situation continued to progress in this manner, even if he were not smashed to death by Big Sister Wei's big wooden club, he would still die from excessive blood loss due to being stabbed by that little fly behind him. Brother Chen made up his mind. Since he couldn't beat them, he would flee. Big Sister Wei swung her club toward him. Su Luo followed up immediately, coldly thrusting her blade forth. With that, the only direction Brother Chen could escape to was northwest. And so, Brother Chen quickly dashed forward. After running a few steps, he felt somewhat anxious and fearful. Why weren't those two chasing him? Just as he was hesitating, he felt the sand underneath him loosen, causing him to stagger and tumble forward unsteadily. Simultaneously, he felt a scorching pain at one of his feet. When he looked down at the sole of his foot, his heart suddenly skipped a beat too as he cried out unconsciously. What the? He fell into the pit of quicksand, but it wasn't deep, and he could get out in a flash. However, the problem was that the sole of his foot had begun rotting at an unfathomable speed. Brother Chen regarded himself as someone who had experienced a lot of suffering, and believed he possessed great perseverance. Yet at this moment, he could only let out a gut-wrenching scream. He wasn't only in physical pain but also severe psychological pain. Regardless of whoever it was, if they saw their own foot rot at such a great speed, reaching the bone so quickly, this sort of trauma would be enough to scar them for life. As the rate of decay was extremely fast, it had already eaten from the sole of his foot to his calf after only a while. Then his other leg also began to rot. And in not only the other leg but also his buttocks, his whole body. He could imagine that his body would soon rot into a pile of white bones. It was horrifying, truly horrifying. Sweat trickled down his forehead. At that moment, Big Sister Wei swung her big wooden club behind and rested it across her shoulders. Standing arrogantly in front of the pit, she stuck out her chin complacently at him. You want to run? See where you'll run to now. Su Luo also appeared then, and she rushed to see Brother Chen, who was sitting at the bottom of the pit. With a grin, she said, "Sir, you should make your choice without delay. Otherwise, your body will soon become completely decomposed." Chapter 2146, Midstream Mountain 6. Su Luo waved her arms in a shrug like she couldn't help doing what she had done. Is there a rule against using poison? Regardless of what traps you fall into, you can't blame the ones who set them up. If you want to blame someone, you can only blame yourself for being too stupid. Brother Chen was furious. Su Luo smiled at Big Sister Wei. Since he's not choosing to kill himself, let's just wait and see. You can lower your guard. He can't run off anyway after all. Big Sister Wei still felt a little worried. Won't he cut off his legs and then run away? No, he won't. In addition to his legs, his behind has already been burnt and decayed. Besides, this is a live broadcast. Do you think this 3-star saint rank would run around in front of countless people with bare buttocks? Just thinking of that image made Su Luo very amused. Oh no, I'm laughing so much that my stomach hurts. Su Luo laughed hysterically the moment she imagined an extremely angry Brother Chen jumping around naked on the screen. At this point, Brother Chen was so angered by Su Luo's words that there was smoke coming out from not just the top of his head, but his entire body. He was so furious, but he couldn't run, and he couldn't beat her. So what should he do now? He wanted to kill himself. The unfortunate thing was that the identity plates couldn't be destroyed at all. Brother Chen looked at the 5 identity plates he possessed, which included his own, and became so furious that he wanted to stomp in anger. It was with great difficulty that he had managed to kill 2 of Leng Zhao's subordinates. Then after offending Leng Xiao, he only managed to escape after suffering many trials and tribulations. Yet, in the end, the fruits of his efforts and sufferings would be for someone else to enjoy too. They were all going to be left for this hateful wench. Brother Chen glared at Su Luo so hard his eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. If looks could kill, Su Luo would have died 100 times over already. With the passing of time, most of Brother Chen's body had already been burnt, and now he had no options left. He screamed angrily and ultimately chose to withdraw in despair. 5 more identity plates fell into Su Luo's hands. In addition to the previous 3, Su Luo now had a total of 8 identity plates. She played with these 8 identity plates, tossing them up and down with a triumphant smile. Well, it seemed that Nangong's idea was truly not bad at all. Hunting here was easy and relaxed, and 8 identity plates were unexpectedly delivered right into her hands. Meanwhile, Big Sister Wei was just jumping about cheerfully beside Su Luo. So Su Luo told Big Sister Wei to clean up the battlefield. And in passing, they covered the bloody sand here because they would be reusing this area later on. Outside the tower, many people had taken notice of this scene. Their eyes were incredibly wide in great disbelief. Those 2 people from Downstream Mountain are not bad. They've actually gotten 8 identity plates already. At first, I thought it was because they were scared to die that they hid so far away. I didn't expect them to have thought so deeply into it. This girl is truly rather smart. Haha, the right time has not yet arrived to make a judgment. It's still too early to jump to conclusions. That's right. You only see her enjoying all the efforts of those passers-by too, but have you thought about it? All her efforts will be enjoyed by Boss Leng. Oh right. Boss Leng holds great hatred toward her, so how can he let her continue living so happily? You all wait and see. But isn't Boss Leng currently fighting Shen Dazhuang to the death? Although Boss Leng's group has snatched the identity plates of many others, they too have suffered a lot of losses. Furthermore, if the girl goes into hiding, even Boss Leng may not be able to find her. Many people were expecting that Boss Leng would be able to find Su Luo, and then teach this proud girl a good lesson. Chapter 2147, Midstream Mountain 7. In the midst of people's expectations, another wave of people shot towards Su Luo. Under the anticipating gazes of everyone, Su Luo and Big Sister Wei worked together with a tacit understanding and harvested the opponents. Big Sister Wei excitedly counted each and every one. 1, 2, 3. She counted until 12. And then she went back and forth, counting over again and again. Su Luo looked at her unhappily. Big Sister Wei. Big Sister Wei didn't look up. Su Luo stood by the ear of the Big Sister Wei and whispered. At first, Big Sister Wei was at a loss, and then she became unhappy and stared at Su Luo. Su Luo patted her on the shoulder, softly comforting. We have to make a sacrifice, so abandoning these are necessary. We will take them back very soon, and furthermore, we will get many of them. Are there really going to be a lot? Big Sister Wei reluctantly looked at the identity plate in her hand, which details she found so beautiful. Do you trust me? Su Luo looked at her seriously. Big Sister Wei solemnly nodded. Yes, I believe in you. That's good. Su Luo smiled, curling up the corners of lips. Just now, she had deliberately missed two people. One of them was from Leng Zhao's camp and the other was from Shen Dazhuang's camp. During the battle, it just so happened that the identity plaques that Su Luo carried on her body clanged down and fell all over the ground. This was 12 identity plates. There were only 100 identity plates. At this time, where would one find this many identity plates? With this news, Su Luo believed that a large number of people would congregate soon. Among them, there would definitely be people sent by Leng Xiao, and there would also be people sent by Shen Dazhuang. Su Luo's mouth lifted into a smirk. Wasn't Leng Xiao always looking for her? Come now then. Big Sister Wei hadn't noticed that two people had run away, and Su Luo, it seemed that she didn't notice. Therefore, she stayed there with Big Sister Wei. Night fell gradually. The temperature of a desert in the middle of the night was at an intolerably frigid temperature for ordinary people. Big Sister Wei slept very soundly, snoring like a big pig. Su Luo felt that even thunder could not wake her up. Su Luo sat on the high mound, watching and listening in all directions, and soon she knew that the Big Sister Wei could no longer sleep. The enemy was attacking. Su Luo slapped Big Sister Wei awake. Big Sister Wei was about to yell, but Su Luo had foreseen that and covered her mouth tightly, at the same time lowering her voice and in a deep voice said, "Don't yell, get ready to fight." Fight. Big Sister Wei suddenly sobered up. Su Luo quickly pointed her finger in several directions. There, and there. People are approaching from those directions. Big Sister Wei was filled with excitement. That must be a lot of people. Su Luo said a few instructions into the ear of Big Sister Wei. Although Big Sister Wei was not very happy, she nodded reluctantly. Soon, the mound that Su Luo and the others were on was surrounded by people. The person who surrounded her was no one else but Leng Xiao. Hee, I looked everywhere but I couldn't find you, you wench. What a coincidence that I met you here. Leng Xiao put his hands behind his back, watching Su Luo's eyes burst into light. Ever since he had arrived, he had always wanted to kill Su Luo, but who knew that this wench could slip away faster than a loach one? She had run away, slipping away from his notice. Over these past 2 days he had been sending people to search for her, but he never found her. Fortunately, a few hours ago, a subordinate ran to inform the news, and he immediately made his way over. Chapter 2148. Midstream Mountain 8. Fortunately, the girl didn't know that her location had been disclosed and was still there to hunt others. Su Luo smiled coldly. Leng Xiao, don't you know that this girl led you here on purpose? Oh, led me over here on purpose? Leng Xiao didn't believe it at all. Are you kidding? No, that's the truth. Su Luo smiled lightly. Seeing Su Luo's faint smile, Leng Xiao nearly believed Su Luo's words for a moment. But he shook those thoughts away and sneered at Su Luo. What a joke. Yeah, you yourself are the biggest joke, only just figuring this out now. It's already too late. Su Luo smiled and curled her lips. Leng Xiao was instantly filled with anger. Then you tell me, why did you lead me here? To kill you, of course. Su Luo shrugged. I heard that you hunted down many identity plates. If I kill you, won't I be able to get countless identity plates for doing nothing? The tone of Su Luo's words seemed so natural, as if Leng Xiao was a small ant. It was like she could squash him as if he was nothing. Leng Xiao was taken aback for a moment, and then burst out laughing. Ha 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 ha. Su Luo simply looked at him quietly, waiting for him to finish laughing. Seeing Su Luo's faint smile, Leng Xiao felt that the joke was no longer funny at all. He stared at Su Luo with a cold gaze, and a cold smile crept up corners of his mouth. Do you want to kill yourself, or should I send you on your way? Kill myself? This girl would never do such a thing. Su Luo replied simply. Then, you want someone else to do it? Leng Xiao laughed wildly. You think that because you have a beautiful appearance, you will not be acted upon, huh? Leng Xiao's order sounded out, and his subordinates immediately surrounded Su Luo and Big Sister Wei. I heard that you are in first place now. Su Luo was not surprised by Leng Xiao's words, and instead changed the subject. Of course, Leng Xiao admitted naturally. Ignoring the people surrounding her, a light flashed in Su Luo's eyes, but the corners of her mouth wore a sarcastic sneer. However, I heard that Shen Dazhuang is much stronger than you? As if one. Leng Xiao cursed. Shen Dazhuang is not only stronger than you, but this time, he also grabbed more identity plates. He is in first place, not you, Boss Leng, so don't put gold on your face too, that's shameful. Su Luo sharply accused him, and at this time her face was full of mockery. Leng Xiao was instantly filled with anger. However, in an instant he suddenly understood something and angrily pointed at Su Luo. You're trying to stall for time? He had been wondering why this girl was talking so much, furthermore making him thoroughly agitated. Puff. A soft sound from not far away as a figure slowly and weakly collapsed to the ground. Seeing this, Leng Xiao couldn't help but burst into anger. Those were his subordinates. She had ambushed his men. Now they were being wiped out silently without a trace. Who was doing this? Just when Leng Xiao was in doubt, a huge figure like an iron tower appeared. He was not alone but was accompanied by his strong subordinates. Ha ha ha, Leng Xiao, you dog thief 3. After looking for so long, sure enough you were found by this grandpa. Good, very good. You have the audacity to say that you are number 1, so let's see some actions to prove it. Shen Dazhuang. Leng Xiao glared at the new arrival. He knew that he and Shen Dazhuang would have to battle, but that was to be the final battle and not now. Chapter 2149, Midstream Mountain 9. Leng Xiao knew that Su Luo had many tricks up her sleeve, so he had wanted to deal with Su Luo first and then confront Shen Dazhuang. However, he didn't expect to meet both opponents right now. As such, Leng Xiao remained silent. Shen Dazhuang, on the other hand, provoked him endlessly. What, are you too afraid to fight? Leng Xiao waved Shen Dazhuang away with one hand and said angrily, Go to the side. I still have matters to do here. Once I'm done with them, I'll fight you. Shen Dazhuang was dissatisfied. What are you talking about? You dared to announce that you're ranked number 1, yet you're too scared to fight me? Leng Xiao pointed to Su Luo. I'll deal with her first, then I'll fight you. Fine. Get it over with quickly. Shen Dazhuang stood aside with his arms folded. He was not close with Su Luo, so he definitely would not help her anymore. Naturally, Su Luo knew that and smiled slyly. Leng Xiao walked towards her step by step. With a wave of his hand, his group of subordinates rushed towards Su Luo like wolves and tigers. There were at least a dozen of them, and they were all sturdy and strong. In order to serve as Leng Xiao's subordinates, they had to at least be of the saint rank with 1 star. Yet what about Su Luo? She was just a pitiful 7-star commander rank. Being able to experience this many 1-star saint ranks besieging her, she could be said to have the luck of 3 lifetimes won. In fact, with this many 1-star saint ranks uniting to attack her, Su Luo had absolutely no chance of winning. Moreover, even with Big Sister Wei's help, the two of them still wouldn't be able to handle 3 moves from the opposing side. After 3 moves, they were sure to lose. Anyone could tell that Su Luo was going to lose. Meanwhile, Leng Xiao was smiling, and Shen Dazhuang coldly watched on from the side. At this moment, the spectators outside the tower all shook their heads. Oh, it's over. This girl has finally reached her limit. Who told her to be so blind? Insisting on setting herself to against Boss Leng. She brought on her own death. How pitiful. This girl's so pretty, yet she's going to lose just like this. Isn't it good for her to lose? Losing means she'll stay in Midstream Mountain, and you'll be able to see her more? If it's just in the tower, that's fine. Her life wouldn't be in any danger. However, this girl offended Boss Leng. If she's still in Midstream Mountain after she comes out from the tower, I don't think the safety of her life can be guaranteed. At the mention of this, many people shook their heads silently with a look of pity in their eyes. Just when everyone thought that Su Luo would lose, She curled up the corners of her lips unexpectedly, still maintaining a light smile on her face. Facing the ferociously powerful Saint ranks, Su Luo tightly grasped Big Sister Wei's hand. The momentum of the incoming attack was like a torrential rush as all of the Saint ranks surrounded the two of them. Then right at this moment Su Luo began to toss all of the identity plates in her possession toward the group of people while saying, "Shindazhuang, you're so stupid. If you let them kill me, won't all of the identity plates in my possession become Leng Zhao's?" Simultaneously, all 12 identity plates in Su Luo's possession were now scattering in midair. Swish, then the two targets, Su Luo and Big Sister Wei, disappeared. In all directions, there were a total of a dozen or so people here. And yet their intended targets had gone missing. During that moment, these people ended up landing their attacks on the bodies of their allies, catapulting them out one by one with smashing fists. The situation was very chaotic at this time. And the reason for the chaos lay in the last sentence Su Luo had yelled out, as well as the identity plates she had scattered. The identity plates fell all over the ground. As such, no one noticed that Su Luo's and Big Sister Wei's identity plates were actually not amongst these 12 identity plates. They all assumed that Su Luo and Big Sister Wei had chosen to withdraw from the competition, flashing away in a beam of white light. Yet how could they possibly know that at the most critical moment, Su Luo had grabbed Big Sister Wei and used her teleportation method, teleporting out with a swish. Chapter 2150, Midstream Mountain 10. It was a moonless and windy night where one could not even see their own hands before them. Yet everyone was busy snatching identity plates. The scene was extremely chaotic and messy, so no one noticed that Su Luo and Big Sister Wei had teleported out. Nearby, Su Luo led Big Sister Wei and went lurking behind the hillside, grinning at the chaos she had caused. No one had even imagined that Su Luo might have already escaped, and that she would actually recklessly lurk back to watch the show. It would be hard to find even a few people with this sort of guts in the entire Genius training camp. Under the cover of night, even the people outside the tower did not pay attention to the two of them. While Su Luo watched the scene before her, she pondered about the current state of things. By this time, many of the scattered people had already been wiped out by Leng Zhao and Shindazhuang. There might be some fish that escaped the net one, but there were definitely not many of them. All Su Luo had to do now was to wait. She would wait for these people to divide into victors and losers, and then strike when the victors had their guard down too. So Su Luo and Big Sister Wei lay on their stomachs on the hillside while waiting to reap the rewards, like in the idiom, "Sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight 3." At this time, it was already a mess at Su Luo's initial location. It was very chaotic there. Ever since Su Luo tossed the identity plates, it seemed everyone had gone mad. The tossed identity plates numbered more than a dozen, and one could increase their ranking by a lot with those. Shindazhuang really wanted to participate in the Upstream Mountains examination this time, and was willing to do all he could to qualify. He absolutely had to get a qualifying spot. Hurry up and snatch them. Shindazhuang's robust voice rang out in the middle of the night. Yet how could Leng Zhao let Shindazhuang do whatever he wanted? Leng Zhao had already forgotten about Su Luo and no longer had any qualms regarding her. Now was the time for him to have a battle between kings with Shindazhuang. Therefore, Leng Zhao also commanded his subordinates loudly, "Snatch! Snatch! Snatch! If you can't snatch the plates from them, kill them." After all, the people that Shindazhuang brought with him were just identification plates that could move. An identity plate could still be obtained just the same by killing these people. Moreover, it was even possible to successively obtain 2 plates at once if there was another identity plate in their possession. As a result, the eyes of both parties practically turned red with bloodlust. Then there was a burst of heated combat, where cold steel glinted and flashed. Countless bellows, roars, and yells intertwined and shook Su Luo's eardrums so painfully she had the illusion that it was the end of the world. It seemed that they were still too close to the battlefield. Consequently, Su Luo grabbed Big Sister Wei and teleported extremely quickly, arriving at a slope almost a mile far away. The slope was not high up, but it provided a good field of view, allowing the whole battlefield to be seen. The battle between Shindazhuang and Leng Zhao went on for a long time. From midnight of the second day, the fight continued until the evening of the third day. At this time, clouds tinged with sunset hues covered the sky, yet it was a terrible mess on the sandy ground. As the fight between the two sides progressed, all of Leng Xiao and Shen Dazhuang's subordinates had already been ripped apart and merged into the sandy ground. As such, it was currently a total mess with identity plates scattered all over. However, Leng Xiao and Shen Dazhuang were busy fighting, so they had no time to pick them up. On the battlefield, the two people fought until they were about to collapse. Leng Xiao said angrily, "Is there any meaning in continuing to fight like this? Since there are 3 qualifying spots, why don't we just call this a draw? I want to be first place." Shen Dazhuang refused to give in. Previously, Leng Xiao said he was the number 1 of Midstream Mountain. This put Shen Dazhuang in a really bad mood. "Why should you be first place?" Leng Xiao sneered. "Because of my fist." "Hee hee, you want to draw? In your dreams. I want to go to Upstream Mountain alone this time." Shen Dazhuang stated his aim. The Tower of Trials had a rule. If he alone got more than 2/3 of the total number of identity plates, he would be able to directly advance to Upstream Mountain and live there. If 2 people get all the identity plates, they can also advance directly to Upstream Mountain. Leng Xiao suggested. Shen Dazhuang said angrily, "Are you an idiot? Do the identity plates on the ground add up to 100? At least 2 plates are missing. I don't even know where those 2 rascals are hiding." Since they couldn't agree, they could only continue to fight until a winner was decided. At this moment, Su Luo and Big Sister Wei, these 2 rascals, began to move. "What the? There are people over there." It was at this moment that someone outside the tower noticed there were 2 round heads protruding from the sand. Chapter 2151. Victory. 1. People from outside the tower saw 2 heads pop up with sand on their heads. This scene made them aghast. Damn it. Did something screw up? Why are those 2 still there? Weren't they already kicked out? How could this happen? So many powerful saint ranks attacked them. How did the 2 of them escape? Everyone excitedly stared at the 2 heads and started to shout enthusiastically one after another. This was really shocking. These 2 people whom they thought had been kicked out had now appeared again. Then everyone's eyes were turned towards Leng Xiao and Shen Dazhuang on the battlefield. By now, the battle between them was nearing its end. These 2 had a very limited amount of spiritual power remaining. However, at this moment, Leng Xiao felt a strangeness around him. He swept the surroundings with his eyes. Damn it. Big Sister Wei grinned at him. Seeing this, Leng Xiao almost fell in midair to his death. Just as Leng Xiao was shocked and distracted, Shen Dazhuang seized the rare opportunity to deal Leng Xiao a fatal blow. His palm immediately made contact with the poor Leng Xiao's chest, causing him to spit out a mouthful of blood. His figure swayed slightly, and he took this opportunity to fall to the ground. However, at the exact moment he fell to the ground, he recollected himself and leaped towards Su Luo like a bolt of lightning. These 2 people must die. Otherwise, he had fought here for such a long time, and even let these 2 take advantage of him at his convenience. Wasn't this angering him to the point of coughing up blood? At this moment, Su Luo sighed silently. Sure enough, she had been discovered. The situation now seemed a bit tricky to get out of. Fortunately, Leng Xiao's strength had been significantly weakened by Shen Dazhuang. This was not entirely impossible to deal with. Just when Su Luo was preparing to make a move against the enemy, she saw Shen Dazhuang stalking behind Leng Xiao, slashing at his back with another palm. Leng Xiao sensed the danger and subconsciously ducked from it. He turned around and glared. "What are you doing?" Shen Dazhuang looked at Leng Xiao as if he were an idiot, and simply said 2 words. "Killing you." Leng Xiao was so angry that he almost vomited another mouthful of blood and said furiously, "Are your eyes blind? Don't you see those 2 people there? We can fight anytime we want, but first we have to get rid of those 2 little fleas." Shen Dazhuang didn't even glance at Su Luo's location. Instead, he didn't waste any time as he continued to mercilessly attack Leng Xiao with the force of his palms. How dare he accuse him of being blinded? Hateful. He deserved to die. Shen Dazhuang rushed forward like a savage bull, forcing Leng Xiao back. Leng Xiao became quite scared of this bull. He tried to get Shen Dazhuang to understand. You idiot! If you don't kill those two people, are you willing to let them reap all the benefits? Stop for a while. However, Leng Xiao was wrong in that he shouldn't use insults with someone. Shen Dazhuang had a one-track mind. If one scolded him, he would treat that person as an enemy, regardless of whether they spoke with reason. It was a tragedy for Leng Xiao. Shen Dazhuang glared at Leng Xiao. I won't stop. Why won't you stop? Leng Xiao roared. Killing you. Shen Dazhuang said straightforwardly. Leng Xiao turned pale with anger, pointing his fingers at Su Luo. Kill them first. No. Shen Dazhuang refused. Why? Leng Xiao shouted loudly at Shen Dazhuang. You have an identity plate on you. Shen Dazhuang's tone was very firm. Leng Xiao very nearly became upset with anger. What was so special about the identity plate on him? Didn't Shen Dazhuang himself have one as well? Chapter 2152, Victory. 2. At this time Leng Xiao could not wait to smash all the identity plates he had with him, but if he did so, he was sure that Shen Dazhuang would definitely run away with all the identity plates. Leng Xiao, naturally, would not be so stupid. Thus he fell into a dilemma. You are a massive idiot with only a simple mind and well-developed limbs. Leng Xiao pointed at Shen Dazhuang's forehead and cursed. Go to hell. Shen Dazhuang was angry. This Leng Xiao even dared to point at him and cursed. He was really asking for death. As a result, Shen Dazhuang immediately mustered all of his strength, concentrated it into his palm, and directed all of it into a lethal strike towards Leng Xiao's body. Leng Xiao was about to be angered to death, but he couldn't do anything about Shen Dazhuang. As long as he said to stop, his opponent would say that he had an identity plate on him. Therefore, it was impossible for them to temporarily make a truce. What else could he do? The only solution was to kill Shen Dazhuang first. Leng Xiao thought about it. A vicious look flashed in his eyes. Under his hand appeared all of his endless energy to prepare unusual moves. He gradually turned a disadvantageous situation to an advantageous situation within the period of time. Su Luo's eyes squinted partially. If she let Leng Xiao win, it would be troublesome to get the identity plates he had on him. Thinking of this, Su Luo whispered a few words in the ear of Big Sister Wei. Big Sister Wei patted her chest to show that she understood. The current situation was a bit chaotic. Knowing Shen Dazhuang was a brainless person, Su Luo and Big Sister Wei would not dare to go up and strangle Leng Xiao alongside him. Shen Dazhuang would not only dislike their interference, he might even turn around and attack her. Leng Xiao and Shen Dazhuang continued to fight for several hours. It was already the third day now, and only 2 hours left until the end. While Big Sister Wei felt a little uncomfortable and anxious, Su Luo's expression was still calm. But on Su Luo's calm face, her thin eyebrows wrinkled occasionally. There were only 2 hours left. If the two of them were to continue fighting it out, there would not be enough time, so something had to be done. Su Luo touched her chin with one hand, gazing around with her bright eyes. Soon, her eyebrows curled up, and a sly look flashed in her eyes. She waved at Shen Dazhuang and smiled. Big brother Shen, there are so many identity plates on the ground. I'm afraid they will be trampled on. I will help you pick them up first. Su Luo didn't ask Big Sister Wei to help. She bent down, slowly picking them up one by one. Leng Xiao's mind was full of suspicion. How could he know what kind of evil idea Su Luo had in mind? So he turned around and ran towards Su Luo, planning to kill this girl first before she was too out of hand to deal with it later. This girl was full of malice intentions. If these identity plates were in her hands, would she so easily give them back later? Only in a dream would that happen. Just as Leng Xiao turned around, the force from Shen Dazhuang's palm passed directly by him. Leng Xiao was extremely furious. He was so angry that he pointed to Shen Dazhuang's nose and yelled, "You idiot! The identity plates were picked up by the stinky girl, don't you know? Stupid! Idiot! Dumbass!" Shen Dazhuang was angry. He continued making moves on Leng Xiao even while speaking. They were picked up on my behalf. You're just jealous. Leng Xiao was so angry that he felt as if he was going to cough up another mouthful of blood. I'm jealous? I am jealous of you, idiot. Saying you're an idiot was not mislabeling you at all. That girl is a con artist. Would she really return them to you after picking them up? Dream on. Shen Dazhuang was instantly furious. The pretty girl doesn't tell lies. You dare to slander her. You're seeking death. Shen Dazhuang was far past anger at this point. Chapter 2153, Victory. 3. Leng Xiao trembled with anger as he pointed at Shen Dazhuang with shaking fingers. The pretty girl doesn't lie? Let me tell you, the more beautiful the girls are, the more they will trick you, fool. Anger swelled up in Shen Dazhuang's heart. Did this person actually call him a fool just now? Was he really that foolish? Whatever. He would play the part of a fool then. Then, let this fool send you to your death. Shen Dazhuang released all his power in a single move. Leng Xiao knew that it was impossible for this idiot to give up and let him kill Su Luo, so he followed suit and countered. Bang bang bang. The strong powers of the two clashed in midair with a burst of tiny sparks, causing the mountain and the surrounding air to shake in the chaos. Although Su Luo's strength had improved greatly during this time, she briefly lost her footing and was swaying a bit. It was just like the saying, the bystander sees the most won. Su Luo noticed that although Leng Xiao was displaying a great amount of power, he wasn't actually exerting his full force. Shen Dazhuang, on the other hand, was truly putting in his greatest effort. Just as Shen Dazhuang weakened, Leng Xiao finally burst forward with a surprise attack. A transparent ball of light that had been prepared for a while now finally appeared in his hands and slammed into Shen Dazhuang's chest. Taking advantage of the stunned Shen Dazhuang, Leng Xiao followed this up with a sweep of his leg. Shen Dazhuang had managed to dodge the ball of light, but was hit hard by Leng Xiao's kick. For a moment, his legs were in so much pain that he fell to the ground unsteadily. How could Leng Xiao miss such a good opportunity? His figure soared up to the sky and then dropped to the ground sharply. With a sword he went piercing toward Dazhuang's throat. The battle between the two strong opponents ended with this cold stab of a sword. Then Shen Dazhuang dissipated into white light before he finally disappeared. Poor Shen Dazhuang. This time, all his efforts would be left for someone else too. His identity plate clattered onto the ground, and it would soon belong to either Leng Xiao or Su Luo. Su Luo had already ordered Big Sister Wei to snatch it the minute Leng Xiao killed Shen Dazhuang. So Big Sister Wei had been waiting so long in anticipation for this moment, that even flowers had withered. Naturally, she was now extremely excited. Just as Leng Xiao killed Shen Dazhuang, Big Sister Wei charged forward like a hungry wolf and immediately crushed the lanky Leng Xiao underneath her like a great mountain. Leng Xiao was furious. Yet before he could react, Big Sister Wei had already made her move. Her wooden club didn't work well at such a close range, so she simply punched Leng Xiao's nose with her fists. Little Luo Luo had said that it was one of the softest parts of the body, and therefore the most painful area when hit right. Leng Xiao had been too overconfident, so how could he have expected Big Sister Wei to act so quickly? By the time he realized what was happening, her iron fist was already heading straight for his nose. Big Sister Wei's fists were more than just for show, and Leng Xiao's nose immediately bent crooked when the blow made contact, causing blood to gush out. Ow! Leng Xiao burst into tears of pain, but even as it hurt, he was still very much conscious and soon retaliated. With a punch, he smashed Big Sister Wei into the air. Yet unbeknownst to him, Su Luo's sword had already arrived, stabbing a hole into his back. Leng Xiao was angered to the point of jumping up and down. Hateful girl! You're seeking death. He threw Big Sister Wei to the side and charged toward Su Luo instead. His hatred for Su Luo had been slowly building up, and now it was flooding out like the endless waters of the Yellow River 3. However, he noticed something was wrong as soon as he took the first step. When he looked down, he saw that his leg was fine, but there was something wrong with the sole of his foot. Chapter 2154, Victory. 4. He had heard a chick-chick-chick sound that seemed to come from the soles of his feet. It was followed by sharp pain. You. Leng Xiao pointed his finger at Su Luo, furious at his inability to walk up and kill her right then and there. Come here if you can. Su Luo folded her arms across her chest and smirked at Leng Xiao, who was still stuck in place. By now she was absolutely certain that he was unable to approach her. The reality was so, and Lung Xiao could not take a single step. Furthermore, he couldn't even stand anymore. The corrosion had reached up to his calves. You are too cruel. Lung Xiao was so angry that he was almost coughing up blood. As with any conspiracy, it is not the mastermind that is to blame. Instead, you should blame yourself for being a fool. Su Luo raised her eyebrows with a grin. Does Shen Dazhuang know how stupid you are? This time, Lung Xiao truly spewed out a mouthful of blood. When did you set this trap? Lung Xiao found it hard to believe that it was a coincidence. She had planted a corrosive poison without his knowing and predicted where he would step. Su Luo swept her hair back and smiled coolly. It's very simple. While you were fighting with Shen Dazhuang, didn't I pick up those identity plates? I simply buried the trap then. Lung Zhao's breath caught in his throat. What kind of mind did this wretched girl have? She couldn't possibly have planned everything so carefully back then, right? No, it might have been even earlier. At that moment, Lung Zhao's mind suddenly lit up with an idea, noticing a slight clue from Su Luo's previous activity. You already planned up to this point from the moment you came in? Lung Xiao yelled at Su Luo. First, she had run to the deserted land in the east to set up an ambush. After hunting down more than a dozen identity plates, she deliberately released people to inform him and Shen Dazhuang before running away by herself to fight Shen Bigfool 1. Once she and Shen Bigfool both used up their strength, she ran back over here in order to re-establish her presence. What kind of scheming was this? It was too accurate. Every step had been calculated, and even every person's character had been taken into account. It was truly terrifying. A string of cold sweat trickled down Lung Zhao's forehead. At the same time, Lung Zhao's hatred towards Su Luo deepened yet again. He once more made up his mind that he could not let this girl live any longer. He had to kill her as soon as possible. Otherwise, after she matured, she would be even more skilled at scheming and stronger as well. How terrifying would that be? People could not be killed in the trial tower, so Lung Xiao decided that after leaving the trial tower, he would bring a group of people with him to deal with this girl. In accordance with the postponement rules, he could become eligible to participate in the upstream mountain assessment this way. Now that he had made the decision to kill Su Luo after leaving this place, he didn't have to worry about her right now. So Lung Xiao stared at Su Luo with an expression of extreme pain, and then nodded slightly to withdraw. Seeing Lung Xiao exit in a flash of light, Su Luo's mouth curled up slightly, silently complimenting Nangong Luyan. Nangong Luyan was attacking at a distance, yet he was able to strategically reach a decisive victory from thousands of miles away. How could a small fry like Lung Xiao overcome such a scheme? However, Su Luo didn't know that after leaving the tower, Lung Xiao was already recruiting and arranging troops. Su Luo and Sister Wei just happily picked up all the identity plates on the ground one by one. 1 plate, 2 plates, 3 plates. At this moment, the spectators watching from outside the tower gazed at Su Luo on the screen with great wonder and eyes full of admiration. She was far too awesome. Chapter 2155, Victory 5. Oh heavens! There are only 2 of them left in the entire trial tower now? 98 people have already withdrawn, so what do you think? Goodness, is this not the easiest assessment in history? I'm not sure if it is the easiest, but I do know that this time, the victors put in the least effort to win. The girls are counting their nameplates. I bet their hands are about to cramp up from having to count so many. Countless sighs and countless gazes, they were all focused on Su Luo. After recounting the pieces 3 times, Su Luo finally confirmed that she had now gathered all the identity plates. 100 plates. This was the first success of this kind in the history of Midstream Mountain. Upon completing the task, Su Luo led Big Sister Wei out of the Tower of Trials. The thick and heavy vermilion doors slowly opened, and Su Luo stepped out leisurely. In the sunshine, she walked slowly, stunning everyone with her beauty. With those bright eyes and pearl-white teeth, skin fairer than fresh snow, and a graceful bearing that made her as elegant as jade, she was intoxicating to anyone who laid eyes on her. Her red outfit, which had big mandala flowers embroidered onto its cuffs and skirt, shone ravishingly. Under the bright and dazzling sunlight, her gorgeous face seemed to be covered in a faint glow. Su Luo was devastatingly beautiful and incomparably magnificent. The corners of her lips softly raised into a faint smile like that of a light breeze passing by. Then in an instant, her smile bloomed, becoming supremely exquisite like the sight of many great crimson lotuses in full flower. Such beauty! In person, Su Luo was 100 times more beautiful than on screen. Such a thin and delicately exquisite body had unexpectedly caused hundreds of mighty warriors in the Midstream mountain to suffer an utter defeat, winning this competition. Although she had not won in much glory, she had done so with intelligence. People were always more lenient and understanding towards beautiful people and things. So even though they had lost, they were willing to accept it. Among them, the whole group of people that Shen Dazhuang represented admitted that Su Luo's skills surpassed their own. Of course, there was still someone who was unconvinced, and that person was Leng Xiao. At this moment, Leng Xiao was staring at Su Luo with a dark and malicious gaze. Simultaneously, the corners of his lips raised into a strangely cold and cruel sneer, one that was profoundly mysterious and made others feel deeply uncomfortable. When Su Luo exited, she headed straight towards the guardian. This was a middle-aged woman who was even more like an abbess than Abbess Miju. Smiling nonchalantly, Su Luo said coolly and unhurriedly, "Where is the stone platform?" The eyes of Abbess Miju No. 2 flickered. She originally thought that Su Luo didn't know about this, so she didn't expect that Su Luo would ask about it the moment she came out. Under Su Luo's overbearing gaze, Abbess Miju No. 2 clenched her fists. Su Luo's smile turned into a somewhat taunting smirk as she repeated, "Where is the stone platform?" At this moment, all eyes were on Abbess Miju No. 2, gazing at her face. Meanwhile, Abbess Miju No. 2 glanced at a different direction with the corners of her eyes. While following Abbess Miju's gaze, Su Luo's eyes happened to meet Leng Xiao's. Leng Xiao glared at her, but Su Luo just smiled calmly. The two people's auras immediately clashed in a battle of superiority. Leng Xiao suddenly shot a taunting sneer at Su Luo. Then with a steady pace he walked towards her slowly, step by step. Finally he stood firmly in front of Su Luo, staring fixedly. Su Luo raised her fair and slender chin slightly, seemingly haughty yet carefree. Standing there with a posture that was neither servile nor overbearing, she let him gaze at her. "You want to draw lots?" Leng Xiao's cold voice rang out as he gazed at her icily. "You think you are qualified to draw them?" Su Luo wasn't angered and smiled instead. "I'm not qualified? Oh, don't tell me that you're the one who is qualified? You, a scum who was knocked out of the assessment?" Chapter 2156. Victory 6. Despite saying that, Su Luo knew that she wanted to draw lots this time. However, it was a little troublesome because Leng Xiao was the leader of this area, so his words held considerable weight. He gazed at Su Luo indifferently as his subordinates began to bombard her. "So what if you're ranked number 1? Everyone knows how you got there. Aren't you embarrassed to be the first to take advantage of other people's loss?" Leng Xiao's subordinates were all filled with anger towards Su Luo. Their boss ranking had been stolen by this stupid girl, so how could they not be angry? Yet faced with the verbal attacks, Su Luo still smiled calmly. "Then what would you have me do? Not draw lots?" Leng Xiao glanced fiercely at Su Luo. "Draw lots? Sure, but I must be the one to do it." "And why should you?" Su Luo's eyes curved up almost like a smile. "It's just because I have bad luck, ha ha ha." Leng Xiao suddenly burst into hysterical laughter, and the men behind him followed suit. Bad luck? So that was why he wanted to draw lots for Su Luo? For him to say such a thing so openly, Leng Xiao must truly be full of confidence about it. There was a large crowd of onlookers, but no one was willing to stand up and speak for Su Luo. Everyone looked at her with a smirk, as if waiting to see if she had any tricks up her sleeves. In their minds, if an ordinary young girl were bullied like this, she would definitely feel angry and helpless to the point of stomping her feet, right? They all expected the fairy-like girl to give in to the provocation, but Su Luo disappointed them. Instead, she continued to smile faintly like before, with her deep eyes seeming to look straight into the depths of Leng Xiao's soul. If you were to draw a prize, who would the treasure belong to? Leng Xiao looked at his rough hands and broke into a sly smile. If you want whatever trash I pull out, it will be yours. Ha ha ha. Standing behind their boss, Leng Xiao's subordinates laughed along with him. Well, if you want to draw them, you can. However, if you pull good things out, you can't be greedy. There are so many people here as witnesses, even Brother Shen. Isn't that right, Brother Shen? At that, Su Luo gestured at Shen Dazhuang. Shen Dazhuang had been beaten by Leng Xiao, so he was filled with hatred towards Leng Xiao, rather than Su Luo. Therefore, upon hearing Su Luo say this, Shen Dazhuang stormed forward, puffed his chest out, and said to her, Junior sister, do not worry. Let this senior brother Shen bear witness for you. Su Luo nodded with a smile. She had already planned this out earlier during the Tower of Trials. By having waited for Leng Xiao to eliminate Shen Dazhuang before eliminating Leng Xiao herself, Su Luo had technically avoided offending Shen Dazhuang. If she had offended both Leng Xiao and Shen Dazhuang, then she would have two enemies in Midstream Mountain, leaving her with no way out. When Leng Xiao heard Shen Dazhuang's words, he felt dizzy with anger. Thinking back to the Tower of Trials, Leng Xiao had called Shen Dazhuang an idiot then too. Indeed, this man was truly a fool. Shen Dazhuang clasped his arms together and stood behind Su Luo with his huge body, giving the impression that he was supporting her. Draw the lots quickly. I want to sleep when this is finished. Shen Dazhuang shouted at Abbess Miju No. 2. Abbess Miju No. 2 glanced at Leng Xiao. Seeing his nod, she took out the stone platform. She had kept this stone platform for many years, and unless there was a system reward, it would not light up at all. Then Su Luo made a gesture of invitation towards Leng Xiao. Boss Leng, if you please. Chapter 2157. Victory 7. Leng Xiao didn't make any other pauses. He just focused on dealing with the tasks and then clicked the button. Consequently, that clock-like disc spun quickly. Leng Xiao looked at Su Luo with a smile. Wretched girl. When do you want me to press stop? This was such an important lottery. Yet he appeared careless and did as he pleased, like he was merely picking cabbages and radishes. Everyone felt sorry for Su Luo and sighed. On the other hand, Su Luo still smiled indifferently as she said, Whenever you want. When Leng Xiao failed to see the expression he'd been anticipating appear on Su Luo's face, a ruthless gaze flashed across his eyes. Well then, I'll just press stop now. Before he finished talking, Leng Xiao's hand had already pressed the button. The screen went black. Soon after, under the eyes of everyone who wasn't expecting anything good to be drawn, Shen Dazhuang was the first to call out. What the? 2. There are actually 2. Quickly, let me through, let me through. Let me see what they are. He quickly rushed up to the platform. When Shen Dazhuang saw the 2 items stated on the screen, he felt dizzy and struggled to stay standing. What the? This must be a mistake. One is a sunny doll one, and the other a ahaha. Shen Dasha felt that either his eyesight had gotten worse or the world had gone crazy. Intelligent skull. Leng Xiao squeezed these 2 words from between his teeth. It unexpectedly turned out to be the intelligent skull. At this moment, Leng Xiao was in a total daze, and he looked down speechlessly at his rough and calloused hands. He had drawn quite a number of times previously, but he'd never gotten anything good. Yet this time he actually drew such a good prize. Furthermore, it was not 1 but 2 good prizes. 2. One of them was even the intelligent skull. Leng Xiao felt that his entire life's worth of luck had just been used for this moment. Then right when the bodies of Leng Xiao and Shen Dazhuang, as well as everyone else present, were shaking from their inability to ingest this huge piece of information, something unexpected happened. Su Luo, who had the strongest psychological endurance, and Big Sister Wei, who felt no mental pressure at all, snatched the 2 treasures and teleported away, disappearing out of sight. Then Su Luo hurriedly threw the 2 treasures into her space. She would look into what that sunny doll was later, but just for that intelligent skull alone, Su Luo almost wanted to kneel down to Leng Xiao in praise. After that, Su Luo pulled Big Sister Wei in again for another teleportation, moving forward another mile or so. What a joke! With such a powerful treasure in their possession, if they didn't run, then they were just waiting to get robbed. Furthermore, they'd be robbed openly in broad daylight. After all, they were on Midstream Mountain where they were surrounded by enemy forces. Leng Xiao, that bastard, said beforehand that he would give her the prize he drew. That had been based on the thought that the reward would be rubbish. However, now the prize was the intelligence skull. The intelligence skull. After Su Luo and Big Sister Wei had already teleported away for about a second, Shen Dazhuang finally snapped out of it. He scratched his bald head. Huh, where have they gone? And the treasures? That's right. What happened to the treasures? Having been too preoccupied with staring at the words on the screen, no one realized that the treasures had already been spat out, and then snatched away by Su Luo, disappearing altogether. The anger in Leng Zhao's heart. The rage he felt. At this moment, Leng Zhao's eyes were scarlet red, with the flames of two raging blazes flickering in his eyes. His whole body seemed to have been ignited by a fire, and he was now about to explode. Chapter 2158. Victory 8. Chase them. Chase them. Chase them for me. Leng Xiao shouted angrily as he shot forward with an explosive burst. Then, in a grandiose manner, Leng Zhao's people also joined the chase. As the people present watched Leng Xiao and the others fly out like arrows, it was only then that they recovered their spirits one by one. What the? The intelligence skull. That's the intelligence skull. What kind of luck does Boss Leng have today? It's overwhelming. Yet why was it that he only drew a prize of 10,000 points when he drew lots for himself previously? Moreover, he actually drew that prize of 10,000 points quite a few times in a row. Could it be that all of his past bad luck was just for today's good luck? But the prize he drew today was for Su Luo, not for himself. So I really don't know what to say about that. If Boss Leng hadn't insisted on drawing lots for Su Luo, she wouldn't have gotten the intelligence skull. That's right, that's right. Boss Leng not only helped Su Luo in the Tower of Trials, but also in the lottery. What do you guys think? Does Boss Leng truly hate Su Luo? If he hates her, why does he end up helping her every time? Everyone. If Leng Xiao heard that hothead's words, he would have given the guy a thrashing. Just how exactly was Leng Xiao helping Su Luo? He had obviously attempted to harm Su Luo every time, but in the end, everything had gone against his wishes. He was even somewhat suspicious. Was the goddess of luck playing with him? At this time, Leng Xiao and his group hurried ahead. Leng Xiao was currently raging hysterically. He vowed that he absolutely had to kill Su Luo today. He just had to. Absolutely kill her. While running, Ding Yiling Zhao's capable assistant said, "Boss, don't worry. Earlier, Liao Air already took some men to wait in ambush up ahead at Sunset Forest. Going through there is the only way to get to Upstream Mountain. Perhaps that Su girl will have already been captured by Liao Air long before we get there." Li San nodded in agreement. Boss Dingy is right. Liao Air took 8 people with him and surrounded Sunset Forest. Once that Su girl enters, we'll wrap her up like wrapping a dumpling. The more Dingy thought about it, the more complacent he got. Sunset Forest is full of danger, and we even have hidden assassins there. This time, that Su girl will absolutely have a tragic end. With Ding Yi and Li San's explanation, Leng Zhao's initial rage gradually eased little by little. He threw his head back and howled loudly with laughter. Good. Very good. Let's see where you'll run to this time, Su Luo. Yet could Liao Air really wait until Su Luo arrived? As a matter of fact, he truly did wait until then. Previously, Su Luo took Big Sister Wei with her and teleported all the way out. However, as the strong gravity was too strong here, Big Sister Wei couldn't bear teleporting more than a few times. So they ran quickly instead. Once they were out of Midstream Mountain, they could use Su Luo's golden airship, that nature-defying flying machine. With her golden airship, how could Su Luo be afraid of being chased by Leng Xiao? Nevertheless, Su Luo was thinking too simply of the situation. Although the golden airship flew at a fast speed, it still had a fatal weakness, and that was a weak defense. In front of the powerful Saint ranks, the defense of the golden airship was like a sheet of paper. Regardless, when Liao Air saw Su Luo finally leave Midstream Mountain and make a temporary stop in front of Sunset Forest, That was the moment a small golden ship suddenly appeared on her palm. Then that small ship gradually became bigger. Su Luo smiled at Big Sister Wei. Just wait. Once we're in the golden airship, we won't need to be afraid of being chased by Leng Xiao. The best result will be if we can anger him to death. Yes, yes. Big Sister Wei nodded repeatedly with a grin. After that, the two of them boarded the golden airship. Yet before the golden airship could take flight, an unforeseen event occurred. Chapter 2159, Trap 1. Although Liao Er was extremely shocked to see that Su Luo was about to fly away, he quickly came back to his senses. After all, how could he just let Su Luo leave like this? Thus, Liao Er hurriedly picked up the communication amulet and sent the news to Leng Xiao. Leng Xiao's brows knitted together tightly. What did you say? She has a golden airship? How did that vile wench obtain such a luxury item? Not even he had one. And as far as he knew, even the top 3 on the dragon list might not have one either. Liao Er spread his hands open as if to gesture. How would he know? Could it be that Su Luo truly has a really powerful backer supporting her? Boss, if so, Liao Er said with difficulty. If that is the case, we must kill her in extreme secrecy to avoid future troubles. Leng Xiao's tone was extremely firm. This was because he and Su Luo were already mortal enemies who wouldn't stop fighting until the other was dead. Furthermore, Leng Xiao's eyes lit up as he very quickly came to a realization. Yet he grit his teeth while saying, "Isn't her luck really good? She must have won the airship in the lottery." As soon as he mentioned the lottery, Leng Xiao felt a stifling sensation in his chest. He swelled up with so much anger that his chest began to throb with a dull ache. Now, I order you to force her into Sunset Forest and unconditionally stop her from going to Upstream Mountain. Leng Xiao knew that if they allowed this potential calamity to continue existing it would be as difficult as reaching the heavens to eliminate her once she became an established threat in the future. Yes, sir. Liao Er nodded solemnly. Boss, don't worry, the defense of the golden airship is not strong. All you need to do is just wait and see. After listening to Liao Er's words, Leng Xiao's mouth hooked into a sneer. That vile wench wanted to try to escape? Haha. This was reality. If he killed her, then she would really die. He would wait and see just how she was going to escape from his inescapable trap. Su Luo wasn't familiar with the map of Sunset Forest at all when she first arrived. However, Liao Er's group had wandered in it every day, so now they could practically walk right out of it with their eyes closed. Therefore, as long as they managed to force Su Luo into Sunset Forest, the monsters would be able to eat her alive. Even if there was a chance that she survived, he still had a dozen of his subordinates lying in wait. Su Luo would be left with no escape. Leng Xiao's newfound self-assuredness caused him to rush on to the Sunset Forest with a card up his sleeve. At this time, Su Luo and Big Sister Wei were sitting on the golden airship and were about to leave. Yet just as the golden airship began to rise, Su Luo sensed danger was approaching. Boom! A strong gust of wind hit the golden airship and threw it askew, causing it to almost fall down headfirst. Su Luo frowned slightly. This golden airship had good speed, but it was truly unsatisfactory in terms of defense. She finally stabilized the golden airship with some difficulty, but the other party had encircled them with a ring of wind blades. They tightened the circle continuously, with a resonating swishing sound. Su Luo knitted her eyebrows together tightly. She calculated that if the situation continued on like this, the golden airship would be cut to pieces by the wind blades within an hour, which wasn't something she wished to see. Although Su Luo clearly knew she was the one the other party was forcing off the golden airship, she had no choice but to bring Big Sister Wei down there with her. This was an overt plot. Just before the two of them exited the golden airship, another attack of wind and lightning slammed into it. Big Sister Wei was caught off balance momentarily and lost her footing. She suddenly hit the wall, causing a big bump to form on her forehead. She was instantly filled with anger. Waving her big wooden club while charging out, Big Sister Wei shouted angrily, "Who is it that's looking to cause a fight? Show yourself to me." However, when Liao Er saw Big Sister Wei rush out, he immediately turned around and ran into Sunset Forest. If Liao Err hadn't run, he would have been immediately beaten up by Big Sister Wei, and she would let go of her anger. Nevertheless, the problem was that he retreated, so she had no means of venting her anger, and thus fell for Liao Err's trap. She charged forwards while pointing with her big club. "What kind of evildoer dares to provoke me? I'm watching you." When Big Sister Wei charged forwards, Su Luo had the intention to stop her, but wasn't even able to grasp onto the corner of her clothes. So Su Luo could only watch as Big Sister Wei ran into the distance. As Su Luo gazed at Sunset Forest, she furrowed her eyes deeply. However, she didn't have time to think about this right now, so she went chasing after Big Sister Wei. Much like the saying about how the gentleman does not stand under a dangerous wall, Su Luo's character was one that would generally avoid, or at least try to avoid, a place like the forest, knowing it was dangerous. Despite that, there were two reasons preventing her from doing so. Firstly, Big Sister Wei had already rushed into the forest. Secondly, their intended destination was the upstream mountain, and this was the only way to get there. The golden airship couldn't fly over it, so that meant they could only get there by walking on land. Su Luo looked at the thicket jungle, and her eyes darkened. Her sixth sense told her that there were countless dangers waiting for her in this forest. Meanwhile, Liao Err was moving things along very quickly. Utilizing his familiarity with the terrain, he was able to let Big Sister Wei follow him closely without letting her catch him. Simultaneously, he was able to run while reporting their progress to Leng Xiao. Boss, the ant nest will soon be in front of us." Liao Err's voice had a hint of excitement. The ant nest, as the name implied, meant a nest of ants. In it were millions of bee ants, and these bee ants were known in Sunset Forest for being barbaric, even on normal days. So even Leng Xiao would avoid them. Good. The ant nest. Ha ha ha. Receiving this news put Leng Xiao in a good mood. At this hour, the bee ants were usually all gathered in their nest to rest. If anyone dared to disturb them, they would definitely face death. Liao Err was rather smart. Knowing that he would be defeated if he fought alone, he had set up this strategy in advance. "Boss, as a subordinate, I must help you kill that vile wench and assist you in getting revenge." Liao Err slapped his chest proudly with an emotional expression of someone who would die for his friend. "Okay, you can go. It's up to you to set this predicament right," Leng Xiao said sternly. Putting down the communication amulet, Liao Err looked back at Big Sister Wei, who was still relentlessly chasing after him, and a sneer appeared at the corner of his mouth. He cursed inwardly. "Idiot, follow me and see how you'll die this time." Liao Err dodged here and there as he dashed forward. Following his trail, Big Sister Wei shouted furiously and increased her speed. However, because she was unfamiliar with the terrain, the distance between them did not decrease. In order to go to Upstream Mountain, it was necessary to traverse Sunset Forest, which was full of mountains. Liao Err's direction was leading toward Su Luo's intended destination, so she did not deliberately attempt to stop Big Sister Wei. An hour later, a mysterious sneer suddenly appeared at the corners of Liao Err's mouth. Then his figure flashed, and he quickly jumped onto a 1,000-year-old tree and concealed himself there. Very quickly, Big Sister Wei caught up to him, but Liao Err had already disappeared, and she couldn't seem to find him no matter how hard she searched. Big Sister Wei had originally been holding in her anger, but as she came farther and farther in her pursuit, she became increasingly suffocated by her anger. Just as she was about to have the chance to vent her anger, she found that Liao Err had disappeared. This made her anger soar again, and she felt as if her lungs were about to blow up. "Jerk! Come out and show yourself to me!" Big Sister Wei yelled loudly, waving her big wooden club. On the tree, Liao Err was overcome with joy. The corners of his mouth were stretched in a wide grin, almost reaching the base of his ears. He made a fist and silently encouraged Big Sister Wei in his heart. "Scream! Hurry up and scream louder. Yell at the ant nest until the ants storm out." Chapter 2160. Trap 2. The hive's activity stretched over quite an expansive area. Within a 100-mile radius, they were considered to reign supreme. Normally, you wouldn't be able to see them, but if something disturbed them, not even bones would be left behind. They were terrible, just terrible. At this time, Big Sister Wei wasn't at all aware of anything else. She just continued stomping her feet in anger and shouting constantly. Liao Er clenched a fist and danced excitedly. Hurry up and shout louder. Scream louder. This exact place was the very center of the hive. A large number of bee ants lived in the area under the feet of Big Sister Wei. And this was the hour of the bee ants' mating cycle. If their mating was interrupted, then they'd be extremely angry. Now that Big Sister Wei was stomping and shouting, this would disturb the atmosphere of their mating. Liao Er trembled with excitement, feeling as if he wished to beat up Big Sister Wei simply for those bees' sake. As Su Luo reached that area, she noticed that something was clearly wrong. This person had deliberately lured them here, and then purposefully disappeared. Su Luo held the little purple sable in her arms as she stood still, stroking the soft fur of the little sable. The little purple sable's nose was very sensitive, and it soon smelled the abnormalities in the air. Then its small paw pointed to the location of the central tree. It was a 1,000-year-old tree. The tree's massive trunk could have been embraced by nearly 20 people. For the height of the tree towered into the sky as far as the eye could see, and the top was so far up that it was out of sight. However, the tree was very dry and stood very conspicuously in the midst of this leafy sunset forest. Such an ancient tree shouldn't have survived. Why was it still able to stand for thousands of years? And the little purple sable had said that the strongest scent was from the tree. Su Luo approached it steadily, full of curiosity. Although the 1,000-year-old tree was a distance away, as soon as Liao Er saw Su Luo, his whole body began to tremble with excitement, and his cheeks flushed bright red. Perfect. He had still been pondering on how to lure Su Luo to the tree. He hadn't expected that Su Luo, in fact, would head towards it herself. It seemed that even the gods were helping him. At this time, the communication amulet sounded. Liao Er picked up and saw that it was the boss. Before Leng Xiao could ask, Liao Er had already lowered his voice and excitedly reported what had happened with incoherent words. Boss. Right now the vile wench with the Su name is walking towards the big tree in the middle of the bee ant nest. She's close, still 30 meters away, 20 meters, 10 meters, 5 meters. The excitement. His fists were clenched tightly, and faces blushed with anticipation. 3 meters, 2 meters. Liao Er's words became increasingly incoherent as he was excited that he was nearing a great achievement. He continued reporting the latest progress to his boss, Leng Xiao, who followed along, listening closely. He clearly remembered how terrible the ancient tree had been. At the beginning, they hadn't known anything, leaning on the big central tree to rest. However, they had disturbed the mating of the queen bee inside. The consequences. Leng Xiao thought about it and felt a shiver down his back. At that time, they had had a group of 10 of them, but only the 2 of them, he and Liao Er, had escaped. What about the rest? The rest had been swallowed up by the bee ant army summoned by the queen and her bees. Not only were their entire bodies consumed, not even a single strand of hair or bone remained. So terrifying. As Leng Xiao thought about Su Luo, that vile wench, about to die without a place to be buried, his entire body bubbled with excitement. He sped up his pace and hurried towards Liao Er. She's about to die, about to die. Liao Er kept his gaze fixed on Su Luo's steps, concentrating in excitement while holding his breath. He didn't dare to take a breath of air, lest he miss the moment of her death. Soon he took in a breath of air, because Su Luo had stopped. She was still 1 meter away from the ancient tree at the center, when she stopped just before it. Liao Er's heartbeat felt as if it was suspended in place, unable to beat at all. And his gaze remained fixed on Su Luo, wishing with all his might that he could nudge her towards it. Just when Liao Er was considering ways to force Su Luo towards it, Su Luo began walking forward again. This was good. All was going well. Only one more step was left. Go on, you could do it. Liao Er clenched his fists, his eyes bloodshot as he stared at Su Luo's back hard enough to burn a hole into it. Meanwhile, in the communication amulet, there was a cold and impatient voice waiting on the other side. Boss. Liao Er lowered his voice, for fear of being discovered by Su Luo. What? Leng Xiao's voice was slightly uncontrolled with traces of excitement. The last step. It's the last step. Very soon. Liao Er said firmly. She has lifted her foot, stepped on it, stepped on. However, at this very moment Su Luo frowned. She was actually communicating right then and there with the little purple sable in her head. What's in it? The little purple sable scratched his head. I don't know, but it seems to be very dangerous, very, very dangerous. Are you sure you want to see it? The corner of Su Luo's mouth slowly curved into a smile, and when she was just one step away from reaching the ancient central tree, she directed her footsteps away, and went right around the tree, pulling Big Sister Wei with her and walking straight. Liao Er. He watched Su Luo walk away without a single glance back, and his entire body felt as if he had been suddenly struck by lightning. He stood there stupidly motionless, feeling as if he could no longer hear what was happening around him. In the communication amulet, Leng Zhao's uncontrollably excited voice continued to make itself heard. Has she stepped on it? Did she step on it? Liao Er. Hurry up. Has she stepped on it? Leng Zhao was anxious. If Liao Er had been in front of him at this time, he would have definitely kicked him without a doubt. Ha ha ha. At this time, was that vile wench being chased by the queen bee and queen's bee? Did the entire hive come out? Are there any bones left from being chewed up? Leng Zhao imagined the scenario in his mind by himself. The scene he painted for himself suddenly became so exciting. Liao Er. Facing the boss's passionate excitement, Liao Er burst into tears at this time. He swallowed deeply, pondering about how to word his news for a moment, and finally, hesitatingly reported the situation. Boss, boss, boss. Don't get too excited. Don't get excited, things have changed. Leng Zhao suddenly felt as if his acupuncture points had been pressured, and his advancing footsteps suddenly stiffened from his subconscious reaction. What? Liao Er almost cried. Boss Shishi, if you have something to say to me then straighten out your tongue and just say it. Leng Zhao gritted his teeth, squeezing out word by word through his teeth. Just say it. Liao Er felt his scalp grow numb, took a deep breath and mustered up the courage, saying all in one breath. Boss! That vile wench didn't step on the central tree. She didn't step on it, she just turned and left. Liao Er. Chapter 2161, Trap 3. Liao Er felt the silence set in from the other side of the communication amulet. He could only feel that his scalp was numb, his entire body was cold, and his back was stiff. Leng Zhao's cold, indifferent voice spoke slowly word by word, gritting his teeth together, repeating. She ran away? Yeah, she's not dead. No, then kill yourself for me. Leng Zhao was furious. Angry. He roared wildly and smashed the communication amulet to the ground. Liao Er. Liao Er really wanted to die. He knew that facing his boss in this kind of situation meant it would definitely not end well. He slapped himself fiercely, sobered himself, and then reconnected to the boss. Leng Zhao was about to go crazy from anger. She had actually avoided it. How could this stinky girl's luck be so good? How could this be? If Liao Er hadn't been gushing with such excitement before, Leng Zhao would not be so angry. Liao Er's words had set up a lot of expectations, so with these results, he felt like Liao Er had sent him from heaven to hell. This enormous sense of disappointment was only fuel for the flames of revenge in his heart. He picked up the communication amulet from the ground, and mustered the courage to pass it back to Leng Zhao, saying with a trembling voice, Boss, it's Liao Er. Leng Zhao gave Dingyi a fierce look. Dingyi gathered up the courage again. Boss, maybe. Liao Er still has a way. The communication amulet continued to flash, blinding people's eyesight. Leng Zhao clenched his fists, eventually deciding to listen to Dingyi this once. Boss, I swear, I will definitely help you kill her. Liao Er raised the 4 fingers of his right hand, swearing righteously. Leng Zhao had already calmed down by this time. He grit his teeth and said, If there is another time, just send yourself to your death. Okay. After receiving the order, Liao Er's heavy heart with worry had lifted. He began to cheer up again. The boss had given him a chance, so he had to make good of it. These 2 people had to be killed this time. Thinking of this, Liao Er quickly followed Su Luo's footsteps. No matter how fast Su Luo and Big Sister Wei walked, They weren't as familiar with this area as Liao Air. As they traveled over more and more land, they were soon enough catching up to Liao Air. This time, Su Luo and Big Sister Wei were in front, and Liao Air was behind. Liao Air kept wondering what should be done. How could these two people be killed silently, and without leaving any traces? Soon his eyes flashed with a bright light. Not far from the front is the labyrinth, the Asna Forest Labyrinth. After entering this maze, everyone would feel that they were spinning in place and wouldn't be able to get out. He and the boss had entered once. That time, they had wandered around for 3 months. That was 3 months long. Liao Air's eyes flashed a brilliant ray. In only 3 more days, let alone 3 months, the assessment of the upstream mountain would end. It would be over for these girls. Thinking of this, Liao Air firmly clenched his fist and decided to lure Su Luo into it. But how could he lure them in? What could he use as bait? After thinking it through, Liao Air thought it was better to use himself as a bait. So, taking advantage of the terrain, he went around the trail to take a shortcut. In a quarter of an hour, he was already in front of Su Luo and Big Sister Wei. As soon as Big Sister Wei saw Liao Air's figure, she became angry, holding a big wooden club and chasing after him, then saying, "You, yes you, stand still for this lady right now." Big Sister Wei was filled with excitement. She believed that she was finding him and chasing him. It turned out now he was right in front of her. Su Luo frowned and pulled Big Sister Wei. "No, you can't chase it, that's just bait. If you try to chase after him again, you may stray to the wrong path." Su Luo's current direction was to advance straight to northward. She didn't have a map in her hand, so this method was the most effective. Although Big Sister Wei was not happy, she pouted but still obediently followed Su Luo's words. Seeing that Big Sister Wei did not chase after, Liao Air instantly became anxious. He scratched his ears and thought of how to entice Big Sister Wei to chase after him. Based on the IQ and personality of Big Sister Wei, he came up with a solution after some consideration. Provocation. With just some gentle provocation, this Big Sister Wei would explode as if she had eaten an explosive. Bang! A pine cone hit Big Sister Wei's head. Big Sister Wei became agitated. Bang! Another pine cone hit Big Sister Wei's head. Big Sister Wei was so angry that she swung her hand out. Bang! Another pine cone slammed into the towering chest of Big Sister Wei. Big Sister Wei was infuriated inside. She grinned and then suddenly glared. Bang! As Big Sister Wei passed by a 1,000-year-old tree, one after another pine cones sprinkled from the top of the tree like rain onto her. "I can't bear it anymore." Big Sister Wei waved a big club around. Like an arrow from the string of a bow, she rushed forward, so fast that Su Luo wasn't able to stop her. In the blink of an eye, Big Sister Wei's figure disappeared. Su Luo shook her head helplessly and chased after her. Since she had received the loyalty of Big Sister Wei, she had to also accept her low IQ as well. So Su Luo was helpless but not angry. Moreover, Su Luo was also very interested in the hidden puppet master behind the scenes, and wanted to see him. Perhaps she could take advantage of the forest terrain to kill Leng Xiao. At the same time, Liao Air was extremely happy. His agile legs propelled him forwards quickly, and he occasionally looked back towards Big Sister Wei. When he saw pine cones and straws and other messy things on top of Big Sister Wei's head, he nearly burst out with laughter. "Ha ha ha, too funny, too stupid, too foolish." Liao Air was extremely excited about being able to fool Big Sister Wei. Liao Air's element was wind, so he specialized in being quick. He was not that far behind Leng Xiao's level. Even if Big Sister Wei desperately chased after him, she wouldn't be able to get closer to him. By now, the sun had already moved to the west, and night was gradually falling. Su Luo's eyebrows creased slightly. Logically speaking, if Leng Xiao had sent someone here to chase her, they would have caught up to her by now. However, she saw none. There had to be some kind of a plot against her. Thinking of the man who had played tricks on Big Sister Wei, Su Luo had a sly smile in her eyes. She, on the other hand, wanted to know where that person would take them. As the goal drew near, Liao Air's mind was filled with anticipation. "Last time, I let you escape danger. This time, I will definitely leave you dead without a funeral." I'll lead you into the labyrinth of Asna Forest and starve to death in it. Liao Er fiercely clenched his hand into a fist. Ahead was the Asna Forest labyrinth. The majestic Western-style architecture filled people with wonder. Now Liao Er was really going all out. He knew just curiosity was not enough. People always had the mentality of seeking advantages and avoiding disadvantages. If Su Luo was afraid, she would definitely not come in. At this moment, only anger could ignite the ambition to enter. Chapter 2162, Trap 4. Therefore Liao Er decided to use himself as a bait to lure Big Sister Wei in. As long as she entered, Su Luo would definitely follow. Liao Er stopped at the entrance of the Asna Forest labyrinth to make sure that Big Sister Wei saw him there. And then he rushed in without a single glance back. Sure enough, eager to catch Liao Er, Big Sister Wei dashed in without a thought. Su Luo felt helplessly looking at it. She felt that Big Sister Wei's impulsive actions had to be corrected, or else they would be exploited by the enemy next time. If she wasn't there to protect her, she was afraid that Big Sister Wei would encounter misfortune. After entering, Liao Er found that Big Sister Wei and Su Luo had followed him in. This instantly excited him. Immediately, Liao Er used the communication amulet to connect to Leng Xiao. Liao Er continued to run further, unable to hide his excitement, and reported his progress to Leng Xiao. Boss! Boss! They entered! They entered! Liao Er spoke incoherently, but Leng Xiao understood exactly what he was talking about. They really entered? Leng Xiao's mood was instantly lifted. Anticipating the pleasure of revenge, he smiled. Yeah boss, these two stupid women really followed me in, ha ha ha. Liao Er couldn't help but laugh out loud, relishing the great contribution he had made. Good, very good. Remember, trap them alive in the maze of Asna Forest. Leng Xiao laughed fiercely. When one hated another to great extremes, the pleasure of ending that other person with a sword for revenge was temporary. However, if one schemed to make the other party wish they were dead rather than alive, because that party was suffering a slow, painful death, not for a moment or for a day, not even for a month but until the end of time, that was truly the greatest manifest of revenge. As long as Su Luo was trapped in the maze of Asna Forest, she would be like a beast that was confined with nothing to eat or drink. No matter what she did, she would only end up walking circles around the maze. She would experience first physical exhaustion, then mental insanity, and finally a mental breakdown. Aha! Leng Xiao pictured this scene with great enjoyment, letting his imagination run wild. Yes sir. After receiving his boss's approval, Liao Er smiled exultantly. By now, Su Luo and Big Sister Wei had already entered the maze of Asna Forest. As soon as they entered the maze, they would automatically be trapped within the formation. It was difficult to get out. From the moment he entered, Liao Er had carefully remembered the distance between himself and the gate. At this moment, he didn't dare to stay any longer in the maze of Asna Forest. His only intention now was to sneak out and leave. Just as he was about to sneak out through the gate, boom! A brutal kick hit Liao Er from the other side, sending his body flying back through the gate like an arrow. Liao Er was so angry that he almost spat out blood. It wasn't because he was kicked, it was just purely out of anger. Why? He didn't know what hour in the evening it was and had forgotten the distance and how far he flew back due to that kick. Moreover, at this instant, the formation of the entire maze of Asna Forest changed drastically. Liao Er couldn't even cough up blood at this time. Why? Because as far as Liao Er knew, the Asna Forest labyrinth would automatically change its formation every 6 hours. After the change, all the timings and locations would change, and the clock would start again. This was what his boss had said. For them to be able to escape before, it was due to all the calculations made step by step by his boss. But now, after he had been forced back in, how would he get out? Liao Er became very anxious. He was filled with so much urgency he felt as if he was about to cry. At this time, Su Luo maintained her undisturbed smile. Calm as wind, Big Sister Wei charged forwards to kill Liao Er. However, instead, what she saw was the sky spinning before her eyes and Liao Er being sucked into somewhere. Big Sister Wei stood stunned in place, frozen still with a look of confusion and suspicion on her face. She became startled and upset. Su Luo smiled, patting her shoulder. All right, don't be angry, that person was drawn into the formation. It will be difficult for him to escape from it in this life. He'll die by himself. This was Big Sister Wei's understanding of it. Something like that. If he couldn't escape, he would be trapped inside for a lifetime. Wasn't that equivalent to dying? So Su Luo nodded in agreement. Listening to Su Luo's words, Big Sister Wei was relieved and softly spat out a few words in the direction of Liao Er's disappearance. Let you off easy. Su Luo smiled and shook her head. In fact, he hadn't been let off easily at all. If he had been caught by Big Sister Wei, at worst he would only receive a few blows and then get tossed aside. Now that he had disappeared into the maze, his future didn't look promising. Su Luo having the time to be concerned with others showed that she was not at all worried about the maze of Asna Forest. In fact, this was very true. Ever since picking up Little Purple Sable from the secret dragon territory, mazes and other obstacles were mere trifles to Su Luo. The Little Purple Sable had been born inside a maze, so it had a natural pathfinding instinct. Su Luo held Little Purple Sable and fed it with slices of roasted meat while coaxing it to lead the way. She had to leave the maze quickly, as the assessment of the upstream mountain was set to begin in a day. She definitely didn't want to miss it. Little Purple Sable was being coaxed very easily. Su Luo scratched his chin teasingly. He giggled, then very mightily sat on Su Luo's shoulder to point out the right direction. With the help of Little Purple Sable, the originally difficult labyrinth became very simple for Su Luo. She easily made her way through as if walking leisurely in her own manor's courtyard. On the other side, Lung Xiao had already reached the entrance of the maze. However, he did not enter. With his hands folded behind his back, he gazed at the European-style maze of Asna Forest with a cold smile, thinking of Su Luo being trapped inside. Come on, set up a comfortable tent for me to stay in. I want to watch this properly right here. Lung Xiao waved his hand and gave the order. Immediately, his subordinates moved to obey his command. Those setting up the table set up the table. Those placing the chairs placed out the chairs. Those setting up the tent set up the tent. The round wooden table was covered with a scarlet silk cloth, which lively colors carried a cheerful, lively feeling. The chair was constructed from yellow rosewood with arms covered in soft cushions. Sitting on it and leaning back, it was extremely comfortable. One would feel like they were laying in the sand. A small red clay stove to the side had been lit, and the boiling water was steaming. Lung Zhao's people were busily making preparations. They knew that their boss was likely to stay here for a long time. Therefore, the more luxurious, the better. The more luxurious things he enjoyed, the more satisfaction he got. Thinking of the harsh conditions Su Luo was being forced to endure. Through experience and knowing what the superior wanted, these subordinates quickly finished setting up a magnificent tent nicely. Lung Xiao comfortably leaned back into his armchair, crossing his legs, and toying with the communication amulet in his hand. After some time had passed, he couldn't bear waiting anymore, so he connected to Liao Er. Chapter 2163, Trap 5. Why haven't you come out yet? Lung Xiao frowned. According to their plan, after Liao Er had lured Su Luo and Big Sister Wei in, he would jump out of the maze. He himself had suffered greatly inside, and so he knew very well the horrors of the maze of Asna Forest. Liao Er's voice carried with it traces of crying. Boss Aroa. At that moment, Lung Xiao had a very bad premonition. His back stiffened and he sat upright, his voice cold. Failed again? His face looked as if it were to explode in the next moment. His subordinates all stopped working. No one dared to move, hesitantly raising their ears to listen. No, no, no. Liao Er quickly denied it, but then cried pitifully. Boss, they are in here too, but I have trapped myself in the maze. Please save me. Even as Lung Xiao let out a sigh of relief, he wished he could kick Liao Er. Idiot. Yes, yes, boss. My lowly self is such a fool. However, this fool is now desperate. What should I do? Liao Er's face was full of tears. Why was he so incompetent as to land himself here? After all, Liao Air worked under him. Leng Xiao knew that if he ignored Liao Air, it would chill the hearts of the others, so he could only frown impatiently. Okay, wait for me. I'll get you out of there once I get this figured out. Thank you, boss, thank you. Liao Air was so excited. He knew that the boss would never leave him. The boss was so kind. Are you certain Su Luo and the others are in the maze? Leng Xiao asked with a bit of worry. He couldn't seem to get rid of a bad premonition. As if there was something he was missing here. Yes, absolutely. If I lied, I want the boss to never leave me behind in the maze of Asna Forest. Liao Air swore. All right. Leng Xiao couldn't find anything amiss anywhere, so he grunted, hung up on Liao Air's side, and then ordered the people guarding the other 3 sides to come back to where he was. Because Su Luo was right in front of them in the maze of Asna Forest, there was no need for them to stand guard anywhere else. Leng Xiao just stood guard at the gate of the maze. He wasn't really doing anything other than leisurely crossing his legs and staring at the door of the labyrinth triumphantly. There he sat for an entire 2 hours. Suddenly, Leng Xiao's communication amulet sounded. It was Xiaoxi. Leng Xiao had been fantasizing about the kind of misery Su Luo was experiencing, the kind of hunger and the kind of psychological breakdown she would soon be subject to. As he daydreamed happily, he was suddenly interrupted by the communication amulet. A frown spread across his face, and he answered it unhappily. Although he accepted the call, his tone was very huffy. Speak. Leng Xiao's voice was full of anger. Xiaoxi's anxious voice came from the amulet. Boss, I just saw that wretched girl Su Luo. Bah. Leng Xiao, unable to hold it in, laughed out loud and immediately denied. You saw wrong. Su Luo was trapped in the maze of Asna Forest while Xiaoxi was coming from the north. How could he have possibly seen her? Xiaoxi was too muddled. However, Xiaoxi said with a firm sense of urgency, Boss, I'm not lying to you. I really did see Su Luo. She has a very beautiful appearance, there's no way I could have seen wrong. And that person next to her who wears colorful clothes and is stronger than normal men, big sister way, there's no mistake. Leng Xiao frowned and his mouth hung open, suddenly at a loss of what to say. At this moment, he had a sudden flash of inspiration, and a piece of information that had been long forgotten in the depths of his memory jumped into his mind. In order to understand Su Luo's strength, he had personally investigated the footage of Su Luo's assessment during Genius Training Camp. There had been an exam that included a maze. He remembered that Su Luo had escaped from it very quickly. Remembering this, Leng Xiao felt his heart skip a beat. He knew what the problem was. The maze of Asna Forest couldn't hamper her at all. She, perhaps because of some treasure she possessed, had an advantage in understanding mazes. This was the only possibility. Leng Xiao promptly stood up, his entire body tense, and yelled in anger at Xiaoxi. Quick! Stop her! You must stop her! Su Luo held Leng Xiao's coveted intelligence skull in her hands, and he would not allow any more mistakes to happen in this matter. If Su Luo reached the upstream mountain, where else would he be able to seize it from her? Leng Xiao rushed forward as he ordered his men around. It was ruined, all ruined. He hadn't realized that Su Luo, that wretched girl, was immune to mazes. His subordinates, seeing their boss overcome with anxiety, stood stupefied for a second, as if they had been struck by lightning. Then, coming back to their senses, they hurriedly packed all their belongings and chased after their boss. At that moment, Leng Xiao's communication amulet rang. When he saw that it was Liao Air, anger immediately boiled within his heart. Boss, did you figure things out yet? Liao Air asked weakly. He was afraid that the boss would forget about him because he was busy, so he especially made sure to remind him. Don't move an inch. Let me tell you, Su Luo escaped from the maze long ago, while you idiot are still circling around in it. I'll remember this grudge, so don't you dare die. When I'm finished, I'll come back and tear your skin off. Leng Xiao yelled, venting at the communication amulet. He was so angry that the overflowing rage he felt inside almost scorched him. Su Luo had really escaped. Really already escaped. After hearing Liao Air, that idiot's words, however, he had actually just stood guard idiotically at the door of the maze of Asna Forest, waiting there like a fool. So much time had been wasted. If it weren't for Liao Er, that fool, he would have already caught up to Su Luo and killed her. And there would have even been enough time to deal with the body. Leng Xiao roared furiously in his heart, and rushed forward as fast as if he were flying. The road ahead of him was blocked by the maze of Asna forest, so Leng Xiao had to make a detour, and the distance he had to travel was lengthened even further. Also, Su Luo already had an hour's head start. So if he wanted to catch up to her, it would take a great deal of time. Leng Xiao also knew that it would be difficult for him to catch up with Su Luo like this, so he pinned all his hopes on Zhao Si. The three of you have to stop that wretched girl. Even if you die doing it, you have to stall for time, understand? Zhao Si nodded excitedly. Boss, the ancient ruins are not too far up ahead. How about we lure that girl Su there? Good. Leng Xiao agreed excitedly. The ancient ruins ahead appeared very worn over time, and at glance it looked like a place filled with treasures. Many people had traveled there to explore, only to discover that the treasures inside had long been emptied out by others. If Su Luo passed by, she would definitely be intrigued into going in and taking a look. When she entered, the gate would be set off and it would close on her. Wouldn't that wretched girl then be locked in? Chapter 2164. Fatal Blow 1. The more Leng Xiao thought about this, the more excited he became, and he repeatedly ordered Zhao Si, "Be sure to lure that stinky girl in." Understood. The ancient ruins were very different from the maze of Asna forest. There were 2 doors in the front and the back, and only one exit. As long as he guarded that one exit, wouldn't this be the equivalent of closing the door to hit the one? Understood. Zhao Si was as excited as a scholar who died for a 2. It had to be said that Zhao Si did possess some talent, and he really did lure Su Luo towards that road. What methods had he used? It was very simple. He consulted Liao Er, who with a face full of snot and tears, confessed his entire plan to lure out Big Sister Wei to Zhao Si. After attaining Liao Er's plans, a weight was lifted off Zhao Si's chest. If Liao Er could trick that stupid Big Sister Wei, why couldn't he? He was much smarter than Liao Er. So, what kind of idea did Zhao Si come up with? Zhao Si had a demonic beast pet in his possession. He used the demonic beast pet to deliberately provoke Big Sister Wei, then quickly fled, so that she would chase after the pet. At that time, Big Sister Wei was starting to hunger. That plump flying pig was nothing but a greasy roasted suckling pig, so she chased after it vigorously. The demonic beast pet took this opportunity to lure Big Sister Wei to the gate of the ancient ruins. Seeing the barren scene of the ruined walls, Su Luo's eyes narrowed slightly. What was going on today? Why were there traps everywhere? First it was the nest of bees, then the maze of Asna forest, and now the ancient ruins in front of her. It appeared desolate, but didn't it hint at great treasures? In the depths of Su Luo's eyes, there was the slightest hint of a cold smile. The flying pig had already been beaten to death by Big Sister Wei. Then, according to the little purple sable, this flying pig was a spiritual pet, not a wild monster. Its motive of leading them was obvious. Using simple deduction, it was very likely that Leng Xiao had deliberately lured them over with this demonic beast pet. Then, following the same reasoning, one could conclude that Leng Xiao had long known of the existence of this ancient site. Given Leng Xiao's character, how could he not go in and explore? If there were any treasures inside, he would have already emptied them out for himself, leaving nothing for her. Therefore, Su Luo held no interest at all towards the ancient ruins. How would Zhao Si have been able to guess what Su Luo's thoughts were at that moment? At this time, he was lying in ambush by the door, eyes rolling in anticipation, expecting Su Luo to rush in greedily. However, Su Luo stopped at the door, and when he saw the dark smile in her eyes, Zhao Si's hair stood on end. Seeing Su Luo directly turned around to leave, Zhao Si was instantly furious. He had expended so much effort to trick them here. How could she just leave like that? Absolutely not. In a rush of anxiety, Zhao Si had no time to think. He untied the transparent crystal from his waist and held it to the sunlight. Under the sunlight, the crystal reflected a particularly dazzling light, and Zhao Si directed this light towards Su Luo. Ha! Su Luo hadn't even said a word, but Big Sister Wei was already voicing her surprise. Treasure! Little Luoluo, there must be treasures inside, let's go in. Big Sister Wei started pulling Su Luo towards the inside. Su Luo. Was the level of intelligence of the person inside really comparable to that of Big Sister Wei? Zhao Si instantly raised his eyebrows and secretly said to himself, "Damn, these two idiots turned out to be so gullible." However, he hadn't yet had the time to triumph. He had already lost sight of Su Luo and Big Sister Wei, who went ahead of him. Before he could even feel surprised, he saw a shadow suddenly charge towards him. A split second later, a huge fist struck his forehead fiercely. Bang bang bang. Poor Zhao Si had no chance to react at all, before he had been beaten into a big pig's 3 by Big Sister Wei. His whole body was black and blue, and soon there wasn't a single patch of skin left intact. At last, Big Sister Wei set her foot on his back, bent down, and grabbed a handful of his hair to lift his head. "Speak. Was that flying pig yours?" Zhao Si was dumbfounded. How had he been exposed? When was he exposed? How did he not know? "You are really stupid. Going so far as to sacrifice your own demonic beast pet only for us to find you and then kill you? Do you really want to die this badly?" Su Luo, with her arms crossed, stood loftily in front of Zhao Si, looking down at him with a smile. Zhao Si burst into tears. The situation was not supposed to end up like this at all, okay? Su Luo slowly squatted down in front of Zhao Si so that her eyes were level with him, and a smile appeared on her beautiful face. "Since you want to glorify yourself so much, we might as well fulfill your wish." No. Zhao Si wanted to cry for help, but Big Sister Wei bashed him on the head and he immediately lost consciousness. Su Luo glanced coldly at Zhao Si, who had collapsed to the ground, and then searched his body. Sure enough, she found a map of the Sunset Forest. With this map, everything would be much easier. Su Luo felt that dragging things out like this wasn't a way to defeat Leng Xiao. She had to take the initiative to kill him in the Sunset Forest. Otherwise, things would be very troublesome in the future. Looking carefully at the map, Su Luo squinted her eyes. From Midstream Mountain to Downstream Mountain, she had been essentially traversing the Sunset Forest. Under Leng Xiao's deliberate guidance along the way, she was not traveling on a straight-line route. Instead, she had been gradually turning towards the southwest. Then if she crossed the southwest, Su Luo followed the map and found her finger pointed towards a section of blood-red forest. This was a part of the Blood Mist Forest. On the map, a big cross was marked, from the nest of bees and ants to the maze of Asna Forest, and now the ancient ruins. Bright red crosses were drawn on every location. So the Blood Mist Forest had to be Leng Xiao's killing move, because that was where the 4th red cross was. Su Luo stuffed the map back onto Zhao Si's body, then led Big Sister Wei outside. "We're not killing him?" Big Sister Wei asked. "No killing. Killing would alarm the rest of the enemy." Oh. Big Sister Wei didn't question anymore. Su Luo gazed first at the sky, then at the jungle in front of her before giving a few orders to Big Sister Wei. "I won't." Big Sister Wei resisted her for the first time, because Su Luo was actually having her go ahead first. Su Luo gave her an unhappy glance. "Why not? I'll compete with you, you go from there, I'll go from here, and we'll see who gets out of this jungle first, okay?" Big Sister Wei stared at Su Luo intensely, then tilted her head and looked up, as if considering the merit of Su Luo's words. Su Luo smiled, her face calm as she allowed her the time to consider, and Big Sister Wei was unable to tell anything from her expression. "Then if I win?" "If you win 10 suckling pigs, I will roast them myself," Su Luo said with a laugh. Okay. It was much too tempting. Big Sister Wei's drool was nearly about to drip out. Without waiting for Su Luo's command, she had already positioned her feet to run off. Chapter 2165. Fatal Blow 2. Watching the back of Big Sister Wei as she left, the smile on Su Luo's face gradually disappeared. She turned around and glanced at the ancient ruins where Zhao Si was before turning and walking towards the Blood Mist Forest. Su Luo touched the sunny one that Leng Xiao had personally used to draw her. Blood Mist Forest, the location of her and Leng Xiao's duel. Su Luo had sent Big Sister Wei away because she wanted to use her wits to win rather than brute strength. If Big Sister Wei was there, she would be too preoccupied to utilize any schemes and plans, having to focus on protecting the latter. Not long after Su Luo left, Leng Xiao took a group of people to the ancient ruins. At this time, Zhao Si had already woken up. Where are they? Leng Xiao was shocked when he saw not a single trace of fighting present by the still intact door. Thoughts bolted around Zhao Si's brain like lightning. He was thinking about how to present himself in order to make his offense sound lighter. Which one would make him sound more in the wrong? If he admitted that Su Luo had entered, knocked him out, and now knew of the boss plan. Or if he said that Su Luo wasn't very curious and had passed the ancient ruins without entering. In fact, did he really even need to consider this at all? And so, Zhao Si made a sour expression, fidgeting as he reported to Leng Xiao. Boss, that stinky girl, Su Luo, she didn't come in at all. She stared at the door, and she then just left. Leng Xiao. He kicked Zhao Si with such force that it sent him flying into the air. Idiot. Idiot. You're all a bunch of idiots. What are you all even useful for? Not one of you is even capable of completing a single task. Boss, calm down, please calm down. We're tight on time, so you can't afford to be upset. If we allow Su Luo to enter Upstream Mountain, it will be too late to try and take revenge in the future. Dingy whispered a reminder in Leng Xiao's ear. I know. Leng Xiao waved his hand in response. Nevertheless, blue veins started to emerge on his forehead. Su Luo. This time, I will personally come after you. Let's see where you can run. Leng Xiao's eyes flashed violently as he sneered at Zhao Si. Are you sure Su Luo didn't enter? Zhao Si shrank back. Leng Xiao grabbed him by the collar and shook him. If she never entered, where did the footprints behind you come from? And you still have the nerve to lie to me. Zhao Si wanted to cry. If he had known they were there before, he wouldn't have lied. Leng Xiao took out the crumpled map from Zhao Si's sleeve. Looking at the red crosses on it, his smile grew increasingly violent. Now do you understand what I meant? Earlier, Leng Xiao had ordered Zhao Si to draw 4 red crosses on the map. He had done so that if Zhao Si was exposed, he would instead lure Su Luo into the 4th trap. Blood Mist Forest. Zhao Si's eyes instantly widened as he stared at Leng Xiao. The boss's plans were so far-reaching. It was ridiculous that he had actually. Humph. Leng Xiao smashed Zhao Si's head violently, splattering the entrails, then kicked his corpse against the wall before sneering out. Other than letting you lure that stinky girl, I also tried to test your loyalty. Looks like you were very unqualified. As soon as Leng Xiao said these words, the group of subordinates behind him all shuddered. In the next instant, all of them collectively realized they had to double their efforts in Su Luo's capture this time. It could be said that Leng Xiao had the entire situation within his grasp. Not only did he lead Su Luo to the Blood Mist Forest, he had also tested Zhao Si and even shocked a group of subordinates into absolute loyalty. Blood Mist Forest. That was Leng Xiao's secret weapon. Being new to this area, Su Luo wouldn't know what was on the inside. In accordance to Leng Xiao's predictions, Su Luo would try to bury poison on one end, maybe even a spirit ball, because she had used that method when she was in the Tower of Trials to eliminate many people. However, Leng Xiao's mouth curled into a strange sneer. So what if you tried to bury poison and spirit balls in the Blood Mist Forest? Su Luo, this time, you would be dead. At this time, Su Luo had already reached the Blood Mist Forest. This was a very peculiar forest, as the entire place appeared withered and yellowed. The jungle appeared to have no traces of life. Yet it did not trigger an instinctual danger in people. Su Luo came to a slight halt, as her sixth sense told her that there was an unknown danger following her. Right at the same moment, Leng Xiao was also leading his people into the forest. He ordered his men. No matter what it takes, I want fresh blood on that wretched girl. The reason why Blood Mist Forest was named the way it was because the trees there were very strange. They were extremely sensitive to the smell of blood. If one's body was covered in blood, things would be interesting. Just the thought of it caused the smile on Leng Xiao's mouth to widen. This was precisely what Su Luo was experiencing at this moment. As she was walking about, the smell of blood sprang toward her. Su Luo quickly moved forward to avoid the spray of blood. However, Leng Xiao had many subordinates, and all of them were scattering and pouring blood onto Su Luo. All of this blood had been collected from demonic beasts, of which they had collected a great amount of before coming here. Leng Xiao had so many men in his command. If he had ordered everyone to rush forward and surround Su Luo, it was possible to kill her right then and there. However, the anger in Leng Xiao's heart couldn't simply be placated by killing Su Luo off, right? He would use these demonic old trees in the blood mist forest to slowly torture Su Luo to death. Although Su Luo was fast and was able to teleport, how could she escape, with her being outnumbered by Leng Xiao's men? Before long, Su Luo was splashed with bright red blood. Boss, that wretched girl has been hit. After succeeding, Dingyi immediately reported to Leng Xiao excitedly, to proclaim his achievement. Good. Bahaha. Leng Xiao was very happy and couldn't help laughing like a madman. Boss, what's next? Continue to soak her in blood, and then gradually drive her towards the deepest part of the blood mist forest. Leng Xiao ordered loudly. He was also rushing towards the deepest part of the forest, because he wanted to see Su Luo die with his own eyes, while slowly being tortured to death by those revived old trees. Haha. Leng Xiao waved at the two people behind him. You two go and help as well. Be sure to make Su Luo into a bloody mess. After laying down his orders, Leng Xiao was alone by himself. He began to slowly walk towards the blood mist forest, moving at a relaxed and casual pace, as if he was taking a leisurely walk through a courtyard. Just the thought of finally being able to kill Su Luo excited him like nothing before. Boss, Su Luo is only 30 miles away from the center of the blood mist forest. Good, keep chasing her. Yes. Only a while later. Boss, Su Luo is only 10 miles away from the center of the blood mist forest. Good, keep chasing her. Yes. Soon enough, the communication amulet rang once again. Boss, Su Luo is only 3 miles away from the center of the blood mist forest. Those 1,000-year-old trees are already beginning to move. That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.